Hello, everyone. We're live and we're back with Susie. Susie's back.
Hello, I'm
Hi.
back. It's good to be
Yes.
back.
Hey, how are you feeling?
Good. I feel remarkably well after surgery. Like I wasn't actually planning to come on the Q&A on this week like necessarily, but like I feel like a normal person again. I'm
Yeah,
shocked. Yeah.
that's great.
But
But
yeah,
how
it's
did you
great.
recover so fast? When I had surgery, I didn't recover this fast at all.
Yeah, but you streamed in the next day, which was insane. So
Yeah, but I streamed in pain. You did the. You're like, okay. Are you okay? Like completely okay? Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right. That's weird. Okay, you're just maybe stronger than me. V is the like woo Q&A. Yes, we're gonna answer Patreon questions, and then we're going to post a link in the community tab for people who are YouTube members to come up and ask their questions live on air with us if they're interested. But first, we're gonna go through the Patreon questions. But if you want your questions to be answered during the Q&A, you can become a patron by link to our Patreon account is in the description. So you get to post your questions ahead of time for me and Susie to answer. But if you prefer to just ask your questions live on air from me, then you could become a YouTube member. So patrons get to post their questions and me and Susie answer them. YouTube members come up on air and talk to me and ask their questions live. So that's the difference between our patrons and our YouTube members. Was that clear? That was pretty clear, I think,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay,
Before we
cool.
get started, I want to say that the get well card that people signed for me
Oh
was
yeah.
so sweet. Um, it literally made me cry.
Aw.
Um, yeah, it meant a lot to me. It meant
Yeah.
a lot.
Mhm.
So
Thank you for people who signed that
yeah, thank
e-card.
you to everyone who signed my get well soon card. Yeah,
Yeah.
it made a big difference to me.
Hmm. All right.
uh, okay,
Wait. So
so
wait.
let
Secular. Do you think Susanna is alive? Yay! Secular rarity saying glad you're feeling better, Susanna. Good to have you back. Fantastic.
thank
That's great.
you. I
All
missed you
right.
guys. And I'm
All right.
like chipper. I'm like so well rested. What's happening? um, so let's get into the Q&A. What should we start off with? We've got a lot of questions today. Let's start with this question. Wait, where did it go? D. Boudreau is asking, what do you think about the Kazakhs referendum that stipulates that the president's relatives are barred from government posts and stripped Nazarbayev's privileges? Nazarbayev, for those who don't know, is the previous Kazakh president dictator who ruled Kazakhstan for like 29 years. Um, how much of this is a concern for Russia? So, Armin, do you know anything about this? Because I looked into
I
this a bit today.
I just saw that the referendum happened and it was
Mm-hmm.
successful. I mean, mm, I that's the only news that I got. I don't know the implications. I mean, on the face of it, it seems like it's a good thing that was passed. But given who has passed, who are the people in charge who are responsible for this referendum, I'm wondering if there's anything else that we're not considering that is like this is a power play. This is like
Yeah.
the new people. So this is the puppet becoming the master kind of situation, right?
Um.
The guy before
So
put this guy in charge because like he wanted to be able to control things from behind the scene. He tried to put a puppet that he could control from behind the scenes, but now the puppet is like, actually, sir, you step aside. I'm in charge right now. And is that not what's happening? That's my impression. I might be completely wrong.
not necessarily. Like the new president did strip the old president of his, you know, coveted, like very dearly held honorary title, which is, like leader of the nation, Nazarbayev. Like they're like, no, we're no longer calling you the leader of the nation. You're not the president anymore. um, so so there it part of the changes were that it was changing Kazakhstan from a super presidency to like a presidency. Now, I don't understand what that means, but apparently it is partially giving the parliament more of the previous like presidential powers. But so it's on the face and me not understanding much of the details, it seemed like a positive thing, but it seemed like it was a concession. Not a concession. Um like what there's a word for it's kind of like appeasement, like just giving it to the Kazakh people so that they'll like be quiet. Like, okay, oh look, we made this referendum, like go calm down now, like go sit down. See, we improved, we're better now, nothing to worry about. Go, have a candy, go sit down. Like I kind of was getting that tone of it, considering how much the protests that happened within the past year like really shook things up and caused like big problems. I mean, they called in foreign troops, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think this is just
but
like
my
a
understanding was
handout.
that my understanding was that this is not just a handout. My understanding was like the old president was in charge from behind the scenes. The new president was just a puppet, okay? And the protests were used as an excuse by the new guy to be like, well, let's give people what they want. And what do the people want? Apparently they want me and not you. Right? I don't know. Like, that's my understanding that the protests were, it's not just like a way to get people quiet. It's actually, the protest was used as an opportunity to change the power dynamics. That's my understanding. I could be completely off. I don't know.
We could both be wrong, or we could both have, bits of it that are right. Let us know your thoughts. Okay. And next question is from D. No, Asian American.
Well, you highlighted.
Wait, no, I know. Just a second. Hide the current. There we go. Okay, wait. So, Asian American is asking, what are your thoughts on right to repair laws and Apple using RFID chips to ensure third-party screens will be rejected by the phone? And are the EU laws forcing all Apple chargers to be USB-C anti-capitalist? Are you familiar with this, Armin? Because
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's not my. It is anti-capitalist. I mean, it is not my favorite way of making companies do things that is better for the customer. There are better ways. Like, so, for example, if a company, I think it's like it's really bad. It could like it messes with innovation. It messes with it's basically politicians saying that we understand what customers need more than the companies. And people might be like, well, actually this is good because this is what we're annoyed with Apple for the things that now the EU is making them walk back on. So people apparently politicians do understand the customers' needs more than the company. But do they really? Because like if okay, here's the thing. If a company has managed to buy your loyalty to the point that they forcing you to use, even if they force you to use their charger over the charger that you want, doesn't stop you from buying their phone, right? Then they have earned that. Do you know what I mean? They have earned to create an anti-competition tool to add to the product. Like, if it's so annoying to the point that you don't, are you speaking to yourself? Because you're muted.
You're saying like it's so competitive that it's above the competition to the extent that you will choose that choice that won't serve you to still get the product.
Yes,
then
I'm saying
they've earned that level of it being against. Okay, did I understand that correctly?
I'm saying like if you, the way that you should force a company not to do something that the customers don't want is by people not buying the product. That's how you make the company make a change. But if they are producing a product that even with the things that you don't like, you're still buying it, then you're still buying it. Then the product is good enough. You're already voting like, oh, even with that thing that is annoying me, I still want the product. Then why would a politician come in and say like, okay, this product is 90% good, but the 10% that the company is doing for its own sake to remain competitive, I'm forcing you to remove that 10% and make it 100% what the customer wants, but the customer is already saying it's good enough for me to buy it. But by removing that 10% that is in the advantage that makes the company more competitive, you're stifling competition. You're messing with competition. This charger thing is what is giving the Apple more money, like it's making them more revenue because people have to go buy Apple product. It's a scheme that the company has because it's making such an attractive product that the part of the product that makes you pay more, it still makes it worth it for you. For example, like here's the thing, okay? So for example, let's say you like Netflix, okay? But do you like Netflix for free? Yeah, Netflix for free would be great, right? But would it make sense for a politician to come and like, hey, your customers want Netflix for free, so should we make it legal? By law, force the company to provide this to you for free? You're like, well, that's insane. Okay, the customer gets something, the company gets something, right? So Apple, by making the charger something that you have to pay extra, you have to buy extra things from them to be able to charge your phone, they're making money that way. So you're taking that away from the company, but the company is like, I've already made a product good enough that even with these chargers, people are buying it. Why are you forcing me to all of a sudden make less money, even though the product is already good enough for people to pay for? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't just take that away from a company. The company has already came up with the money-making machine that you're taking the money-making part of it out of the equation. I know it's annoying, but yeah, what else do you expect? Like, if it's everything that we want, like, oh, politicians make companies do what we want. Okay, I want cars for free. I want like air flights to be cheaper. I want like everything. On. No, like, what do you mean? Oh, come on. Like, do you think like politicians should just come and make companies do things that is against their profit to give people what they want? Like, what would be the incentives to become such a good company to make a product that people are so addicted to buying it, so much so that they are willing to tolerate your crappy chargers? Like, why would you why would you get to that point? Like, you're reducing the incentives for innovation and the incentives for producing better products. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just kind of smiling because like everyone in the chat is like, no.
Okay, like
Secularity is saying, I think I understand where you're coming from, Armin, but when it comes to things like cars or smartphones, there are only a few companies that can even hope to participate in that market. It's an oligopoly in almost every major sector of the economy because of the overhead and startup costs to compete with companies like Apple or Toyota.
The oligopoly! Fight the oligopoly! This is where politicians and different governments come into play. But like, hey, let's sponsor new innovation instead of like stopping the innovation that is successful. Like, oh my God, they have no competitors. Let's spend money in smaller companies, smaller tech companies, being able to innovate. Let's like remove the barriers for them. You increase the competition. So this is how you fight bigger companies. You basically open the floodgates of smaller companies being able to compete with them. You don't like, okay, so if these are big companies growing because they have better product, instead of like, no, like, you don't do this. The smaller companies that are down here, you're like, governments, they just have to lift that up. Lift the smaller companies by sponsoring innovation, by removing legal barriers, removing funding barriers, removing all sorts of barriers. So companies like Apple and Google and Facebook are threatened with other companies, not with the threat should come from other companies, not from the government. Okay. And again, people are like, oh no, they're so big, there's no threat to them. Really? Like, did you not see TikTok coming out of nowhere? And just like all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, YouTube and Facebook and everyone, like, it just like come in like with a new innovation. You know, why can't it be like more American companies that have like all of a sudden comments like steal Facebook and YouTube's and Twitter's lunch, right? Like, why do you have to wait for Chinese company to do that? Why can't like politicians that have so much subsidies for any new small company that has any form of success, why didn't they subsidize that? Right? Like, I don't know. Like, Armin is such an idealist. It's like people are saying Armin is such an idealist. You people are telling me that the best way to fight oligopoly is for the government, with its absolute knowledge, godlike power, to come out and be like, hey, I know better than the market. I understand better than the market on how to fix things. I'm an idealist. I'm like, the solution is more innovation, more competition. The thing that has always worked. How is that idealism? The thing that has always worked. How about more of that? You're like, no. Daddy government, come save us from something that you don't have any understanding of. Like you have no control of. And like, oh yeah, I'm an idealist here. Okay, sure.
I love Daddy government. He takes good care of us.
I mean, he does, but not in the market. Like, you know what I mean? You know, in many things, like I'm not one of those crazy libertarians that like, oh, keep the government out of everything. I like good. Even the solution that I'm proposing involves government involvement. Okay, it is government. I'm not saying government keep the government out of everything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying government should be involved by promoting entrepreneurship, small businesses, and innovation. Spend a lot. I mean, look, I'm like, oh, Armin is a radical libertarian. No, I'm saying spend a lot of taxpayer money. Spend more on research and development and innovation. Like, yeah, no, spend more government, but just like not in stopping innovation, but in increasing innovation to increase competition. So I'm not like a non-interventionist kind of guy. I'm just like, increase the demand, increase the competition. Anyways.
I love it. I'm just happy to be here right now. So let's go to the next question this is a little juicy. From Secular Proton. If you had to get a tattoo, what would be your top 3 picks? Or I'm going to let you go first as the non-tattooed person.
No, you should go first. I have to think about
my additions.
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Okay, you think about it. I've already thought about this. Well, one, I already have a lot of tattoos. I wouldn't say I'm heavily tattooed, but I have a lot of them. So I would get the tattoos on my fingers redone. I would maybe get the one on my hand touched up. I was thinking of like adding to the one on my hand. And then my third idea is private. So
I think I'll do a lion and a horse on each one of these arms. The AR logo. Yeah.
You need to have them. Damn.
Yeah, go like you put it together and it becomes the AR logo. Yeah, okay.
Oh my god. Any other picks? Because it says pick 3. Or is that it?
Oh my god, pick 3? I already did.
Top
okay.
3 picks. If you didn't have a
lion, horse, and then maybe a circle right here, just so. There you go. Like.
I actually did a spit take.
That's great.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so next question is from Gasian American, and it is: whenever we talk about the People's Republic in China and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea as most people know it, their communist parties are always brought up. Why do you think it is when the news speak of Singapore, Nepal, Cambodia, and Laos, their respective communist parties are universally omitted?
Wait, Singapore is not a communist party. Singapore?
Like, correct me if I'm wrong. And I could but I might be about to say something very stupid. But these other countries are not one-party states in the same way that China and
Yeah.
North Korea are. So, like, what else is there to talk about? There's
Oh,
the one party.
you're saying they have communist parties. You're not saying they're ruled by communism. I mean, maybe so Vietnam, maybe okay, but not really at all. I mean, it's not fair to call China communist at all. So, but in the same way, it's not fair to call Vietnam communist at all. Maybe it just has a branding of communism, but not
Talking
the
about
actual.
their, it's not talking about their communism, but talking about their,
Oh, wait.
nominally communist parties.
Why is it not brought up? Like for the same reason? I mean, doesn't Portugal also have the Communist Party? Like you don't like. What do we want to talk about?
Yeah,
Like they don't
among
have
many
any.
others.
Yeah, among many others. So why should we bring it up? Like, yeah, you have a Communist Party. You're like,
I
and
think the Communist Party in China and North Korea are, extremely relevant to the entire nation, right? Like it's the party.
yeah, but it's just it's just communist by name, but
Yeah.
not at all in practice. So why should we look at it through the lens of communism when? Okay, so we have a few countries like China, and maybe Vietnam that have the extra branding. North Korea is like it's its own category. Like, what category are you in North Korea? Like, I'm in the North Korea category. Like, okay, so that cannot be described as anything else because it's so unique and so strange and so weird. Okay, that it's just like So forget North Korea. Okay, but China and Vietnam, they have like the aesthetics of like, oh, look at this, like look at the the red and the Armin sickle. Okay, like, okay, what else about you is communist? Like literally nothing. Okay, I'm exaggerating. Okay, so then why should we look at it through the eyes of communism if that's how they are? Like they just have the branding, and these other countries, like, I don't know, Singapore, Portugal, they have communist parties. So what, like, yeah, but well, they're those parties are not in power. So why would that be a highlight? Why would we highlight that when we're talking about
Asian
that?
American is correcting me. I did in fact say something stupid. He said those nations are ruled by one party states. So
Singapore has a one party that is communist. Seriously, Singapore, most capitalist country in the entire like East Asian region, is a one party. Like, so can somebody? No, Singapore is not communist. Is Singapore communist? Hold on. Yes, in a way. What?
Asian American is saying the People's Action Party.
Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. If a country that is the heart of the financial market inside, like, it's either, okay, there's two areas within East Asia, okay, that is competing over being the heart of the finance industry. Okay, one is Shanghai, the other one is Singapore. Okay, it's either Shanghai or Singapore, and I would say Singapore has won. Okay, it's Singapore. Okay, Singapore is the New York of East Asia. Okay, and you're telling me that country is a communist country? So communism has no meaning anymore. Like, it's just a goddamn name. It's just a name. You cannot get more capitalist than Singapore. Okay, so if you want to tell me that that's a communist country, then it has no meaning anymore. Like, it's just like what are you talking about? Like, people are saying Singapore is a communist country. Oh yeah, sure. The heart of the finance market in East Asia is all of a sudden a communist country. Sure. Like, you can't get more market oriented and more capitalist than Singapore. So it's just a name.
I love how you're like, do words even mean things anymore?
The People's Action Party is based on this. Oh, sure. Okay, whatever. I don't understand. Let me see what this person is saying. Government wanted to build the government-owned land. Okay, so the people think like if a government does stuff, it's communism. That's how people define communism. It's communism. Why? The government is doing things. Okay, there is a market.
That is
There-
actually like basically a lot of rhetoric in America. Like actually,
They're like
it's
people
socialism.
own
It's
people
socialism.
people own property. There's a rich market. There's trade. There's free trade. Like, oh yeah, but the government does things. Okay.
Okay, wait. This next question from Gasian American is incredible. It's incredible. And this, Armin, I need you to put your thinking hat on and be prepared to like really ponder some things, okay? Gasian American is asking, should the remains of Hirohito, I will call him Adolf from World War II, Qin Shi Huang, and Konoto Karius and others be cremated and then made into diamond toilets so that the children of their violence may take revenge on them one flush at a time? If that's too macabre, what are your thoughts on a diamond studded fleshlight and dildo? So when they're carving so that their carbon, which once brought pain, can now bring orgasms. Some billionaire would want it as a rental collection piece. For $20 a flesh, you too can crap on a crappy person. Armin, what do you think about making toilets or pleasurable devices out of the remains of the worst humans ever made?
I don't know. Do you like genocide inside of you? I don't understand. do you like it vibrating?
But what if instead of it being inside of you, you crap on it?
And it seems excessive. Why? Do you think this is a good idea?
I don't know, man, but it's good. It's fun to think about.
No, I know. It's fun to think about. I was just thinking, like, imagine if you're just like, I don't know, having a vibrating whatever rubbing against your clit, and you just wouldn't that like be a turnoff if you're like, oh, this is the body of like a genocidal maniac.
You know, I think that would turn me off. I think that would take me out of the moment.
Yeah.
You know, you can't let your mind wander.
Yeah. Wouldn't like this. Yeah. Or would it enhance
I was laughing so hard when I read this question. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have the war criminal toilet or the war criminal fleshlight? Diamond studded fleshlight.
I don't like to think about poop that much, so I go with the flashlight.
Okay. I think I'd go with the toilet. I think it's more practical. You get more use out of it, I think.
Yeah. Hey. Okay, sure. I don't know. It's too expensive. Diamond. I don't know how any of this works, but I don't know.
And how do we find the remains of all of these war criminals? Like, a lot of them have to be preserved as historical evidence, you know? So maybe they wouldn't let us get that far.
Yeah.
What if the remains aren't enough to make a full diamond-studded toilet?
I'm not that... Okay, here's the thing. I'm not that much into symbolic ways of addressing anything, okay?
That's not true.
Why? I was going to address that. Tell me.
We do blasphemy all the time.
Yeah, but because we're told not to.
Okay, well, continue.
It's not symbolic. Like if for example, there was no reaction to tearing up the Quran, right? I wouldn't tear up the Quran or burn the Quran for purely symbolic things.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right. So, like if I burn a Quran or if I tear up the Quran, it's specifically because I'm taking an action that I think has a specific use, right? They're telling like there's limitations to expression, and we're trying to challenge those limitations, right? But if there was no reaction, if there was nobody was threatening or banning the burning of a Quran or tearing up a Quran, I wouldn't do it purely out of symbolic reasons. It would be a waste of time. I would like, why would I burn a Quran? No, there's no, like, nobody's telling you not to. You know what I mean? So that's why I think like I wouldn't do such a thing that is being described here, because like there's no like would there be a there's no laws against that. People might laugh at it or not like it, but there wouldn't be any, there's no taboos are being broken here. You know what I mean? No ridiculous people, so it's just purely symbolic. So it's because it's purely symbolic, I don't see much value in it. And if people were like, okay, will you continue your art if there's no reaction to it? The thing is that our art is pretty. You know what I mean? Like, it's art. Like, it's not just symbolic. We're producing something that has utility beyond its taboo breaking, and what the utility is that it's beautiful to look at. You enjoy it. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't do like purely symbolic. I think it's a waste of time.
Interesting. So this is a quicker question, and I had to do some interpreting of Gaysian Americanisms to understand what he was even asking. But basically, Gaysian American is asking if we have any thoughts on the split between President Xi Jinping and the Premier Li Keqiang. I actually, to be honest, haven't been keeping up with Chinese politics lately, so I don't know about this. Armin,
Yeah.
do you know about
No,
this?
I don't know. No, I
Okay.
don't know.
Talk to me in a week and maybe I'll have learned something. Okay. Next question is from, let's go to this question from Higgs Boson. Did you see the video where some Turkish high schoolers played football with the Quran? They were just suspended. There wasn't much outrage. So I actually did see this, and it seemed like there was some outrage. Like, the Ministry of Education got involved to suspend them, not just like their school, like the Ministry of Education. And I saw lots of people reporting on it. So I don't know. I feel it seems like it definitely caused some attention, caused some outrage. We might talk about it on the news next week.
Maybe maybe it didn't get the outrage that they were expecting.
Maybe
Because it seemed like innocent. Maybe like they didn't know what they were doing. How old?
No, I watched it. They knew what they were doing. One of them.
Oh wow.
One of them takes the Quran and like kicks it across the classroom, and the other one does a very good, like, graceful, like freaking punts that thing across, like they did like a pass, with the Quran. And then as he was kicking it, he like loses his balance and falls over and makes a joke like, "Oh God made me fall over because I was just kicking the Quran." It's
oh my God!
obvious.
And they were recording this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's base, but also, holy crap! This happened in Turkey.
Yeah, that's dangerous as fuck.
How old were these? I wanted to talk about having balls of steel, but I'm worried about them being underage, and then I don't want to talk about that.
I don't know how old they are.
Okay. That is like what? Like, why would they take such a giant risk? That's incredible.
Kids don't think things through.
Okay.
This very much seemed like that kind of situation. Like,
wow.
They do not understand the consequences of what they've just done.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty impressive. Well, good job.
Yeah, we'll see how things pan out. Like, if after a week, if this picks up more steam, maybe there will be more outrage. I mean, this happened like less than 24 hours ago, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Gaging American saying, wait, hold on. Gaging American is saying, is Armin going to start printing Quran verses onto soccer balls and sell them as a merch? Maybe. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Okay.
If you don't start doing it first. Okay. Next question is from D. Boudreau asking, have you seen What is a Woman by Matt Walsh? And
No,
if so, what do you think about it?
Not yet, but I'm going to watch it.
Can we watch it together?
Yeah, let's watch it together.
Yeah. That'd be good. I want to watch it too. Okay, so
I heard the main thing that catches everyone's opinion is that from all the people who are like pro-trans, he keeps asking them what is to define a woman. So the main thing that I'll get to this. Okay, so I want to see how would you respond to this. Okay, so if you ask traditionalist people or conservative, what is a woman, they have a very clear definition for you. Okay. But if you ask all the people on the other side, okay, pro-trans, what is a woman, it seems like they have no idea based on their own standards. Like they don't have no good definition for woman. Like every time they give you a definition, they know like, what about this? And all of a sudden the definitions doesn't apply to other things based on their own standards. Like, so they have a self-defeating definition, unless they just get to the point where they say, okay, a woman who is whoever identifies as a woman, and they're like, well, that's circular, right? Like, like that's, if you say a woman is whoever is identifying as a woman, then within your definition you have the word woman. So within the definition of woman, it's referring to woman, and that's not a definition because it's referring to whatever you're trying to define, right? So how would you respond to that? Look, oh yeah, somebody in the live chat is just saying woman is anyone who identifies as what. That is circular because the woman is inside your definition. You cannot have a definition that refers to the things that you're trying to define within the definition. Yeah. So how would you respond to that?
I don't have a clear answer.
I have an answer.
That's what we're getting at. What's your answer, Armin?
My answer is like, I should have been there. Like, this is why the concept. Yeah, I agree. There's no good definition of a woman. I would just submit to that. Like, yeah, there's no good definition of a woman. And what's your
That's point? Not what they're arguing. They're arguing that there is a good definition of a woman. It's just like these progressives have lost their minds and they can't define it. Their definition of a woman is a female-born person.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, the answer is, like, you think you got me by saying that there's no good definition of woman. I'm giving it to you. What's your point? So they think that we have lost if we don't have a good definition for a woman. But I'm already handing that over to them. I'm like, oh, good job. You win. There is no good definition of woman. And why shouldn't we like give the identity of woman to people who want it? Like, because there's no good definition of woman. I'm like, okay, why does that follow? I agree. There's no good definition of woman. What are you concluding from that? Like, I'm just saying that the assumption that that's a win, I'm just taking that assumption away from them. Like, yeah, there's no good. It doesn't refer to anything concrete. What about it?
I think part of the problem is like this rhetoric, this way of thinking about trans identity, it doesn't square with people's common sense. And I mean that in the sense that, I don't know how to say this, like that idea doesn't sell well to the general public. Like, we have a huge problem with how transgender rights activist rhetoric is perceived by the general public, and it doesn't like poll well. Like, people don't necessarily buy it. And this plays a huge problem in terms of trans athletes. Like people, it's
That's a different
wildly
topic.
unpopular. Like I think in like that's what I agree with, but I'm just noticing publicly that there's this huge disconnect in terms of what people are saying and pushing and how we should talk about it and understand it, and then what is actually working for the public. And it's not about changing yourself or changing these things for the public, but that is important to consider when thinking about how to further a movement, how to further the rights that you secure to people. You have to be able to make people actually like understand. And I it just it's we're having the opposite effect right now. It's becoming wildly unpopular because there isn't this clarity around these things.
Can I respond?
Do you understand what I'm talking about? Like, do you notice that same problem that I'm noticing?
Can I respond?
Yes.
People were unclear and completely didn't relate to or weren't responding positively to the introduction of homosexuality as well. So that is not a very good metric at all, right? People are like, "Oh my God, men kissing men, men! Oh my God, the sky is falling. The fabric of society is like coming to an end, and everything is going to be destroyed, right?" So who gives a crap? Like, well, we're gonna push for it until there is more acceptance, right? Like this is why this is gonna be a challenge. Like, well, yeah, just because it's a challenge, that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep pushing for it. Obviously, we should keep. That makes it extra necessary for us to keep pushing for it, right? So there's that. And whenever we're introducing a new norm, there are going to be things, ways in which society is structured that does not match this new reality. Okay, so people, for example, one place we're going to see this is in sports. Okay, but just because the way things are structured doesn't match this new norm that we're trying to set, people are like, "Oh my God, look at all these complications!" Like, yeah, what do you expect? There are going to be complications because we're introducing a new norm. So the structures have to change to accept this new norm. But just because there is the new norm is struggling to fit in within the structures that we have, they were like, "Oh, abandon it because look at all these women that are not winning." Like, like, first of all, there's not that, like, this is like such a fringe issue, but that's what you would expect to happen, right? Um, and then the whole idea of there not being a lack of clarity, of course there's not lack of clarity. There's going to be lack of clarity because we're talking about the concept of man and woman. It's a social construct based on how people identify. Okay, so by its very nature, it's going to be a very unclear and fuzzy thing, right? When we're talking about female, male, or sexual orientation, there's more clarity around that because it's more black and white. Okay, but when it comes to identifying as, you know, having people's identity, of course there's going to be lack of clarity about that. This is a much more individualist thing, that, like, how you see yourself. Like, where's the definition? Like, how could you come up with a working definition for something so personal, right? The obvious, like, so like, even when it comes to the definition of things that are very objective, right? The lines are not very clear. For example, even when it comes to things like color, where does blue stop and purple begin? Where's the exact line? Obviously, like, it's hard to come up with an exact line. So even when things are as objective as color, we cannot introduce hard lines. How are you going to do that with things as so fuzzy and so unclear and so based on subjective understanding of things as personal identity? Like, oh, it's not clear. Well, how could it be clear?
I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
I addressed exact three things that you mentioned. You mentioned about the fact that people are not receiving it very well. I specifically touched on that. That was the exact same thing. I come up with examples of other things that were not received well, and we should have pushed for it. You talked about sports and how complications over there. You specifically talked about that, and I talked about the exact same thing as well. I said, like, of course there's going to be complications. And then you talked about the lack of clarity, and I specifically talked about the lack of clarity that you brought up. So I specifically talked about exactly about the things that you brought up. So we are talking about the same things. I was very careful to talk about the same things that you talked about.
Yeah, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I don't quite know how to put it into words yet, but I just get this sense that there is a correction in the way that we talk about these issues or describe this phenomenon or just describe this experience that needs to, I feel like there's an adjustment or correction that needs to be made because it just isn't squaring with most people. I don't know how to, like, I'm really trying to think about this carefully and talk about it in a careful, responsible way. It's not about catering to the norms and, dominant narratives of society, but the current way that this is talked about, it feels so dogmatic. And if you give this standard line to explain this, like, to most people who are not already on board, who are not already progressive, they just don't really believe you. It does, like I said, it doesn't square with their common sense. They're like, I've known what a woman is my whole life, and now you're asking me to completely blow that framework off the hinges. And that's not necessarily something that people are going to get on board with en masse. And I think there could be a way where we preserve, like, the...
I already addressed that. Like, that was the same thing with with homosexuality.
I don't think it's the same.
I didn't say it's the same. Did I say it's exactly the same? I'm
No.
talking about specific. I'm not talking about everything about them being the same. I'm talking about this specific part of this. Okay, I'm talking about the specific part that is being addressed, that people are not ready to accept this, or people are not comfortable with it. That part of it by itself is not a good metric to touch upon as if to see if it's a valid movement to have or not. You know what I mean? So when I compare it to that part of the gay rights movement, I'm not saying that these movements are one and one exactly are the same. I'm saying the fact that people are not accepting it or it's not popular, that is not saying much, because there weren't. I mean, people were resisting abolishment of slavery as well. So, well, there's that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very, like, curious about what people in the live chat think about this, or maybe people who watch this later, because it's something I think about a lot. And I don't know if people could, like, reflect back to me if you, like, understand, like, what I'm trying to get at. I don't think I articulated myself to the best of my ability.
My impression is people are uncomfortable, okay, because things are changing and they're changing fast, and people are used to a certain way of things being the way they are, and when they change, they're like, "I'm not. This is a new world for me. This is a new territory, and I was comfortable with the way things were." Okay, my point is that the level of comfort that we had with the way we said these are men, these are women, and now we're losing that comfort. that level of comfort that we're losing is very insignificant to the level of comfort people are gaining who have gender dysphoria. So I am more concerned. I am more concerned with the discomfort that people currently have that have gender dysphoria. That level of discomfort is more important to me than the level of discomfort people are feeling when they say like, "Oh, what is a man? I don't know anymore. I'm uncomfortable now."
But what I'm saying is that we can correct the message so that uncomfortability is minimized as fast as possible, so that change can happen faster and more successfully. That's ultimately what I'm saying. It's like let's get people on board faster. I don't think it's working very well right now. How can we do this better?
Well,
can we do this better?
One way we could do it better.
Something I care about.
May I respond? Okay. One way we could do this better is by not pretending that the fringe crazies are the main activists. Okay. And this is because there will be there will be crazies. Right? So I think people are like, oh my God, we can't move forward with this because this is ridiculous. And like, okay, show me how it's ridiculous. And they go find the looniest of the loons within the movement and they put a flashlight on that. I'm like, well, by doing that, we're actually making it more difficult to go in that direction because we should be giving the highlight to the sane people in this movement, not the insane people to the movement. So one way we could, which make it more acceptable to move in this direction, is by giving the spotlight to the sane people within the trans rights movement. That's how we could do it. And I think it's too much of an ask to be like to want a movement to not have crazy people.
That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying that people who think like, oh, you have you have some crazy loonies on your movement, so I can't get comfortable with your movement. I'm like, well, guess what? Then you can't be comfortable with any movement because every movement has its fair share of loonies.
Yeah, I think. Actually, I don't know if I should get into that. Oh, Secularity is saying, I totally understand what Susanna is saying. Thank you. Like, I hope people don't think that this is anything I'm advocating against. I'm not advocating against trans right. I'm saying, like, how can we do better? Because a lot of things aren't going well right now. Like, and I want them to go as well as possible, as quickly as possible. And yeah, I think some things could maybe be fixed. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, Susanna is speaking. Susanna cares about trans people because Susanna cares about everybody. Like, she's just wondering how this movement could be better. Not that she's against the movement, obviously.
Yeah. Asian American is saying Susanna is thinking about selling to the public. Inability to define a woman is like defund the police. You know, and just in like horrible marketing. Like, it sounds gross when you put it in those terms. Oh, we're marketing me being respected, and
marketing is important.
We're marketing my rights. No, we do have to market it.
Yes.
Like, people who push forward ideas and rights, they do have to do that.
But the thing is, with defunding the police, we have a better alternative, right? We could be like, reform the police is a much better alternative. Oh, there we go. Right? So, for example, but there's no alternative. But I'm saying the problem with defining it for a woman is that there is no good definition for a woman. Okay, that's the problem. Like, oh my God, you guys, we cannot move forward with your movement unless you give us a good definition for a woman. Well, there is none. Okay, so what are we gonna do now?
A lot of people don't believe that, though, and the process to get them there is like a lot more esoteric than I think many people could get to.
I don't understand. I'm just saying, like, just because there's no good definition for woman, that doesn't mean like, okay, so let the traditionalists win, and let's keep the definition of the woman that they want. Like, no. How about we get comfortable with the fact that there's no good definition for a woman? Why can't we just be like, oh, okay, this is like, maybe at some point we'll just abandon it, like, because like I think identities could be as unique and as many as the clothes you wear, right?
Oh, no, we can't get into the gender abolition argument again.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get gender will be abolished at some
Oh
point
boy.
as an identity. It will. It will. Like people are going to be able to change identities and wear whatever their identities that are specifically, uniquely that is tailored for them. Like the whole idea of having two major identities, uh, one man, one woman, and cutting the whole population into two. Like identity is such a personal thing that having two major categories for the entire world is insane. It's just absolutely insane. It doesn't make any sense, and people are comfortable with that idea because it has been like that for thousands of years. I'm like, well, guess what? Slavery was there for thousands of years. Just because you're uncomfortable with it, that doesn't mean it's an improvement to get rid of it.
I think I don't know. Well, I just be repeating myself at this point. So interesting discussion, Armin. Let's go watch this Matt Walsh thing this next week. Sounds like a plan?
Yes. Sounds
cool.
Good.
And then we can give our reports back. Okay, let's go to the next patron questions. This is a very big question, and I don't even know if we can even get into it. Higgs Boson is asking, how do we solve the economic isolation of Muslims, especially Sunnis, in India, given the feudalism and tendency to riot and violence in the community? It makes the government and businesses avoid their neighborhood and leave them at their fate. Shias, on average, however, are doing better as they have more disposable income. They vote on economic issues, not cultural ones, and are more individualistic and less radical. Higgs Boson, I will just start out the gate with saying, I don't know how to solve this economic isolation, but you gave me something to think about, and this is what I'm going to go research. Because it was very interesting to me.
I know exactly how to fix this. It's called love jihad. So you go and you try to convert as many. So the idea, this is a new idea, okay? I named it love jihad. So just try to convert as many Hindus to Islam by trying to convert Hindu girls into Islam. First, like become very good at flirting, okay? And then make them fall in love with you and potentially marry you, and then you convert them to Islam. If you
Wait, how does that solve the economic isolation? I don't understand.
Well, if you keep doing this, after a few generations, there's just so many Muslims that India will become an Islamic country. And
so you're
yeah. So then you cannot be isolated because you're now the majority. Try it, like you don't know. Hey, okay.
So Armin is now just bald-facedly pro the actual love jihad conspiracy of Islamic replacement in India. Okay.
Just try it. Like you have tried everything else. It doesn't work. Why not?
That's one way to do it. We end up economic isolation by just making everyone Sunnis.
Yeah. Or just make such good food that you just can't resist. You know what I mean? Because they're not buying it, like they're trying to isolate you. Okay. Just make sure you just keep showing up at their like Hindu festivals and stuff and just make the food smell so good. So good. They just like, this is like, never mind. This is too good. This is too good. I heard food brings people together. This is why I was so upset over the fact that like they're not buying Muslim food, right? Like Hindus, like food is supposed to be a way as an excuse to put everything aside and just bring peace between people, right? Like when I was in Israel, I remembered like when people were talking about politics, they would get so angry, like Jewish against Arab or Jewish against Jewish, Israeli against Israeli, Palestinian against Palestinian. So many disagreements and get really heated. Okay, but then when the subject turned to food, every time, everybody will remove their guards and they had playful fights. Okay, the same people that were having intense, heated, hateful fights, all of a sudden had fights in a much more, jokingly, kind of wholesome way, like who makes the better hummus, right? And
That's
at
the
some
eternal question, the eternal
yeah,
fight.
is do Arabs make better hummus or do Jews make better hummus? Okay, and the interesting thing is like almost everybody, all the Jewish people, kind of had to agree that no, the Arabs make better hummus, right? So like they have the better hummus, right? So that was so playful and it was like so lighthearted and it was so fun, right? So I heard that if you share a meal with somebody, you know, that reduces tensions, right? So this is why I think like the people who are pro hate in India, they have identified like, oh, let's not buy their food, okay? Oh, another thing I saw in Tel Aviv was like there's a very popular sweet shop in Tel Aviv. I forgot the name, but the owners are Muslims, right? They're they're Israeli Arabs, and you can see the woman there wearing the hijab and everything. But it's such good. They have such good sweets that everybody like. But you can see like there's in the line there are people of all sorts of ethnicities and all sorts of backgrounds just lining up until the next street just to buy the sweets. Right? Nobody gives a crap about any of the politics or religion or ethnic identity or or previous history. People are like, you have good sweets, we want to buy sweets. Like you can see like it was a model of bringing people together because everybody here was just excited about the sweets, right? I mean I'm going to ignore the fact that sugar is just kills you, but like let's put that aside for 1 second, right? But
For the
I'm just saying
sake of intercommunal harmony.
Yes, but yeah, so like in India you would think that the one great force that could bring Muslims and Hindus together is sharing of food and not just food, but this just like a rich culture, you know what I mean? Like the music, the saris, like, you know what I mean? These are, these are people who are grown up with the same cultural background, and there's a lot that you could share that is beyond, past religion and past politics. So just isolating Muslims economically is, especially when it comes to buying food from each other and other things, is such a perfect way to increase hate and tension between people. And that's why it has to fail. Maybe we could have a campaign for Hindus to show that they're shopping from Muslims, and a counter campaign, you know what I mean? Like
A counter
I am,
boycott.
yeah, like, oh look, like you could record yourself saying like, I'm buying from a Muslim, come buy from a Muslim, you know what I mean? Like did you know that they make this food and it's amazing? Can you like, I know, so like I know it would be great for India to become fully, Hindu again, right? But this is just too good. I have to give up this dream because of the food. Something like that. Make it. What do you think? Like, should there be a campaign where Hindus record themselves buying food from Muslims and proud of it, like, and advertise that to other people?
Maybe it's just my Americanness, but to me that sounds like very tokenizing. Like
Well,
what,
you guys
or like,
have.
and I
Okay.
also think about like how the right wing would like perceive that. They'd be like, "Oh my God, look at this appeasement! Look at this pandering!"
Well, I mean that means it's working. If they get butthurt, isn't that a sign of it working? I don't know.
I don't know.
Somebody's okay.
Secular Rarity saying, "Oh, Armin, I'll put aside how vile and harmful sugar is if it brings world peace and no other reason."
Yeah, no, I mean it's fine. I think it's a good idea. I think like it's basically a counter campaign. Like I'm buying from Muslims. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It just came to my mind just right now. So I don't know.
I do actually want to think about like that economic isolation question, though. I want to look into that. But speaking of love jihad, I recently discovered the opposite side of love jihad. So
But it's
it's when Muslims accuse Hindu men of coercing their Muslim women to join Hindu men and leave Islam.
oh
And
wow.
I've found this new conspiracy theory, guys. Go look at hashtag Bhagwan Love Trap.
Wait,
And
did
I
they
went
take?
down a rabbit hole of investigating these accusations of basically Hindu love jihad, the Bhagwan love trap. I was like, oh my God.
Wait, so
This is what I
Hindu,
do like when I'm going to sleep.
so Hindu men are trying to convert Muslim women by dating them and converting them to Hinduism.
Yeah, it's basically an exact mirror of the love jihad conspiracies theory. Just switch the religions. Like same
Hmm.
kind of tactics, like that kind of thing.
You know, this could have been so based if it wasn't violent. You know what I mean? If people were like, the woman would be like, "Oh my God, everybody's just competing for us. Like, who do we choose? Who do we choose?"
Oh
Like,
my God. Yeah. Or if like people's like constitutional rights weren't being violated over it. Yeah.
right,
This
right,
could be
right,
a lot
right.
of fun. I still think it
Yeah,
has the makings of a great like comedic show.
yeah. I was like, you can
One
make
day.
such good comedy of it, like come to Islam, and like why? And I'm like, just look at me. I'm so like I don't know. Like, I don't know, like make it like not because like the message of Islam is good, because look at I don't know the way I dance or whatever, right? Like look at you what
Have you seen
and,
Muslim men? Like that's basically
and
the ad.
like opens up that she's like because of this, and then like turns up his and then all of a sudden a Hindu man comes in and like no, come back to Hinduism. I'm like why? And then he does like something, and he does like he like just starts singing and then starts
I want to see
dancing
you
and like.
marking yourselves. Yeah.
No, yeah. No, there would be a dance off. There would be a woman in the middle, okay, and there would be a dance off and singing between a Muslim Indian and a Hindu Indian, and they're just competing with each other, and they're like pulling her, and there's like then he's pulling her, and she's like
She's
putting a
like,
hijab.
oh,
All of a sudden, she's like, yeah, and all of a sudden, she's like convinced by the man, and she starts putting in a hijab. But all of a sudden, she notices the Hindu man. All of a sudden, like changes tune, and it's like such a great tune, and she like slowly takes off the hijab and then puts the thing on her forehead, and then she starts swimming. This is great. You should do that. We should do that. It's Love Jihad versus what's the other thing? The new one,
the Bhagwan love trap.
the Bhagwan Love Chat. Yeah. Okay. We should have an art about this. The the Bhagwan Love Trap. Yeah, let's make an art specifically dedicated to this new thing, and you can introduce it.
I think we have like the makings of a winning television series, personally.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is from D asking, what are your thoughts on Biden excluding Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba from the Summit of the Americas and the subsequent response from Mexico, Bolivia, Honduras, Brazil, Guatemala, and several Caribbean nations?
From the Summit of America, I don't know much about this. Do you know?
Okay, so there was supposed to be, I think, like the 9th annual Summit of the Americas, where all of the countries that, that are considered part of the Americas meet together and talk about the issues that happen.
Cuba? I think Cuba should start being included in things, just like Obama did. I thought Biden. Why is Biden not moving in the same direction that Obama did with Cuba? Okay, go on. Yeah.
Well, I'll just explain like what happened. So basically it's happening in LA like right now, and Biden moved to exclude Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba from the summit because they don't meet their standards of diplomatic norms and all that, etc. At which point several other countries, like it started yesterday, like there were still a lot of countries like we didn't even know if they were going to show up. Because of this, many countries are just straight up not refusing to come. And the ones that are coming are protesting. Because I think there was a lot of insult in like, who are you to dictate this summer? Like, like on your high horse, like the presumption, right? The entitlement to be like, we are all a part of the Americas. We're all a part of this landmass. We all have an interest in coming together. Like whether you agree with our or we've committed human rights abuses or not. Like many countries were saying it's better to come to the table instead of you just dictating, no, you're not good enough to be here. But they are still in our region. They still have an interest. And it would be in our interest to still try to talk to them. So I don't know much about the summit, but it doesn't sound like it's going to go very well at all because, yeah, either most people boycotted or the ones that did come are protesting. So how much cooperation is going to come out of this? Like, what's the point? I kind of like
maybe
why people are like, yeah, F you. Like,
well, I mean, if it's over human rights violations, I don't want to say yeah, because like, who cares about human rights violations?
No, but
like,
even if there is human rights violations, it would still be in our interest to engage them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, you have to be able to do an analysis on whether, okay, so here's a counter narrative, okay? Including them in the table shows that no matter how much human rights violations you commit, we're still going to have to deal with you, so carry on. So that's the counter narrative.
Yeah.
Like, we don't care what you do to your people. You always have a seat at our table. Like, wouldn't you be encouraging them to just continue doing what they're doing based on that? Like, so there's a counter narrative. Like, I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of Cubans in America would be angry with Biden if they just willy-nilly opens the door to Cuba with that, like, kind of like the Cubans in America are kind of like a lot of anti-regime Iranians in America, right? So, for example, if you just open the door to the Islamic Republic of Iran, a lot of Iranian Americans will be like, what the hell? You are literally talking to Satan without any conditions, and you're just like rewarding them for their human rights abuses, right? So Biden has to look at, I mean, yeah, maybe Cuba, there are a lot of Cuban Americans and they vote, okay? And they're a big, and they're not very friendly towards good relationships between United States and Cuba, right? They're like, you're like talking to our, so maybe that's part of the equation as well, I don't know.
I think this would have been more successful if this kind of decision was made with more cooperation, because it seems like all the other parties interpreted this with such disrespect, just like America once again, like kicking down the door, like, the biggest bully in the room. Like, who are you to say who's invited to our party? F you. With their big ass. Like, I think it should have been done with, I think it might have gone down better if it was done with more cooperation instead of just like, so, you have to follow what we say. I don't know.
Look, okay, so first, Oxymoron is saying, I mean, Americans have much more history of human rights violation. The rest of the world has to tolerate liberal American shenanigans. Well, first of all, I'm not Americans, the United States government, not Americans. Okay, so there's a difference, right? And also, they happen to be the superpower. Okay, any superpower will probably have the most human rights violations because they'll be the superpower. Okay, so every superpower, when you are a superpower, you do the most good in the world. So the United States is is responsible for the highest amount of, medicine, technology, contributions to a lot of like technology and science in the world, advanced, like fighting against poverty, natural diseases. When it comes to which country is fighting all of these the most and providing the most amount of benefit to the world, it's the United States. But also the other way around, the country that is the most responsible for the most amount of human rights violations and crimes is also the United States, because it's a giant, powerful country that just like whenever it does something, whatever it does, whether good or bad, is going to be the most in the world. Okay, so but my assumption is that it's good that United States is the superpower than a country like, I don't know, China or Russia. Okay, so as bad as human rights violations are when it comes from the U.S., if Russia or China were the world superpower right now, it would have been a lot worse. Okay, because at least the United States is somewhat limited by Enlightenment values in a way that Russia or China isn't. Again, I'm not saying that they don't commit major crimes. I'm just saying it would have been worse if other countries were the superpower.
As an American, I can tell you it feels like our country is just always like,
look at this.
Whoops, look at this. I just tripped into some more human rights abuses. Whoops. Like,
Look at
Everywhere
this.
we go.
Oxymoron is saying, Oxymoron, you're like, you are incapable of listening to my words. It's like, we give you medicine, so you should shut up about Iraq. Did I just say you should shut up? Do we not ourselves bring up United States? Like, you could, how about you mention both? Who said you need to be shut up about Iraq? Who here, who, like, are you imagining arguments that we did not make? Did I say that because the United States provides medicine to the rest of the world, you should shut up about Iraq? Oh, you know, your argument is so weak that you have to make up something that I have not said for it to make any sense. Oh, Anonymous, by the way, donated 20 New Zealand dollars. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for the donation, whoever you are.
Yeah, I did not say that. You could mention both. How about that? Mm-hmm. There we go. Is that so hard? You know. Here's the thing. It's fun. No, here's the thing. The people who like, why didn't you say we cannot? Oh, we cannot talk about Iraq. But they are the same. They are the people who do not mention the good parts. Okay, we are the people who mention the evil crap, but also the good things. Okay, they are only focusing on one side mostly. Okay, but while focusing on one side, they're claiming that we are the ones who are focusing on one side. So they are seeing in us what's actually true about them. They think like they are on the side of the bad stuff about the United States. We are on the side of the good one, but we're mentioning both. You are the one that was mentioning only one side. We're seeing the full picture. You have this narrow-minded, pathetically shallow view that is just focused on one side. We're seeing the whole picture, and you accuse us of what you're doing yourself.
So Murray,
wait. Oxymoron is saying, I am not talking about you, Armin, just nature of working. Who says that? Okay, show me if you're not talking about us. Who tells you? Show me where have people argued about not talking about Iraq? Where has this? Like, I've never seen anywhere somebody like shut up about Iraq because medicines. Who does that? It's an imaginary argument. Okay.
Okay, well, first of all, Murray is saying it was me. I'm not sure why I was anonymous. So thank you for your donation, Murray. And then someone else also donated $20. So thank you for that as well. Everything you donate goes directly to Atheist Republic and helps our whole team do what they do and benefits our community. So thank you.
Oh, somebody's saying Julian Assange. Okay, that's fair. Okay, okay, so Julian Assange, completely true, but that was not the argument that Oxymoron was making. This Oxymoron is saying, I didn't say they don't shut up. You know, they don't target people who are like trying to reveal something about Iraq. I said the argument of like, hey, we make medicines, so shut up about Iraq. That's not an argument that is being made. Okay. Do I like Julian Assange is an example that I agree of violation of human rights by the United States. So see, like I could talk about United States as a country doing good things while also admitting that this is a violation of freedom of speech, what is being done to Julian Assange. Like Julian Assange, what he did, I'm in support of that. And I'm against United States government taking a stance against Julian Assange. I say that. I agree with that. Okay? But where's the argument? Oh, yes, let's stop Julian Assange because we make medicines for the world. Like that's not an argument that exists. Or maybe you could find somebody.
Okay, we need to move to the next question.
Okay.
Next question is from Asian American. It's saying, should there be such a thing as for-profit adoption? What are your thoughts on adoption being used as a form of human trafficking? Well, it's unfortunate. It's something that definitely happens. There can be a lot of shadiness in adoption agencies, and there have been historically, especially from areas that are impacted by war and conflict, where it's like, actually, yeah, your parents were alive this whole time. Really horrible, tragic things. For-profit adoption, I don't know how any of that sounds legal.
What is it? How would you profit exactly?
Through facilitating the adoption of children.
Who makes the profit? The person who's making the adoption or the person who's like giving the child?
It would be the agency.
How could they not make a profit? They're doing a business. They should make a profit.
No, so, but currently non-adoption agencies are constructed at least in the US as non-profit agencies.
Oh, really? Okay. To fight against. I was just thinking. I didn't know that.
Because it's like otherwise it's like you're selling kids. Like
I thought they're not like I thought they're not selling kids. They're providing a service. Like I don't know. Like if any form of matchmaking, then you could describe it as selling humans. Okay. Like for example, if there's like if that's selling kids, then any websites that connects employers with employees, like oh you're selling humans, like or any matchmaking websites between couples, are like oh my god you're selling humans. Like no, we're just putting people who want to be together in touch with each other. So I think like an adoption agency, they're not selling kids. They're just like providing you a service. But what is the service? You finding a kid that needs parents. Like that's a service. Shouldn't you get paid for that? Like that, I'm not. Yeah.
They do get paid for it, but it's through a nonprofit model. This would be a for-profit model.
I understand that. Like I'm learning right now. I can see the potential harm with that not being a nonprofit model. I can see how it could be. Like I am understanding this now. Like I was just, so that because I didn't know that this, like, so there is no for-profit companies that does adoption.
I don't know. I'm not very knowledgeable about this, but not that I'm aware of.
If that's the rule, I can see where the rule is coming from. Okay, because other matchmaking human to human services, in this one of them cannot even speak, right? Or it's like it has a brain of they're idiots. Okay, so one side is an idiot, one right is mentally like challenged. Okay, so you can't just like have a for-profit model because one side could be completely taken advantage of, right? So I understand why you would have to have extra regulations, so much so that you can't even make it for profit. Yeah, I can see it that way. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the sound of it sounds gross to me. I'm like, oh no, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. I mean, kids are stupid though. Like, very stupid. No, like people are like guys, is this a hot take? Any group of people who actually even considers the idea of, I don't know, a fat man coming down a chimney and bringing you toys to the whole planet at one night, like even if they don't agree with, even like people are like, oh my god, you're so smart, you're thinking like a kid, like maybe that's not true, like wow, so smart. The mere fact that you're considering that as an option means that you're an idiot. Okay, like you're an idiot.
Oh my god. Maybe they wouldn't believe it if the adults weren't so convincing.
No, they're not. The adults are not convincing. I mean, they still buy it. They're dumb. Is that rude to say? Like maybe like you have a kid, like no, my kid is smart because he questioned it or she questioned it. Like the fact that she was even questioning it and she wasn't like, okay, yeah, this is dumb right away. That means that she's an idiot. Maybe she's less of an idiot compared to, like, maybe as a parent you want to believe that my kid is like smarter than other kids. Okay, but that's a very low standard. They're all idiots. Maybe your kid is less of an idiot, but an idiot.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So
it's okay. Don't worry. They will grow up. Some of them.
Next question is,
if you vaccinate them, they will grow up.
True. Yeah. Next question is from Higgs Boson. And this is very much more so in your lane, Armin. He's asking, why do so many nationalists glorify their empires, like Turks glorifying the Ottoman / Go Turk, Iranians glorifying the Sassanid / I can never say it right. Yes, that empire.
Hachameneshi. Say the correct version. Hachameneshi.
Hachameneshi.
Yeah, okay.
That was actually easier to say. Isn't being nationalist involve wanting a nation state / republic as opposed to an empire? Armin, what is your thoughts on this, kind of discrepancy?
Okay, so the type of nationalists you're talking about are like the right-leaning nationalists, not like So nationalists, like civic nationalists or other utilitarian nationalists, are people like me who believe I'm not a nationalist in the sense that I think like people of certain nations are better or superior or deserve more than other people. I'm a nationalist in the sense of like I understand the utility of borders and the concept of a nation state as a useful tool to manage different geographical areas. So like I'm a nationalist in a sense that I believe in the concept of nation states and its utility, not in the sense like, oh, my nation is good and your nation is bad or anything like that. Okay. So, but the nationalists that you're speaking of, so my form of nationalist is a person who believes like, okay, I believe in a nation state, and the best way to run a nation state would be through a republic, right? So because these nationalists, they're the ones that you're the right-leaning loons that you're talking about, they are not necessarily in favor of the nation. They are in favor of the concept of favoring certain people. And now that they're being represented through the concept of a nation state, they're defending that nation, not because for the sake of that nation, but for the sake of the superiority or the allegiance they have to that group of people, often defined by a certain ethnicity. Okay. And the reason they do that is because they have small dicks. Okay. I mean, they have they have inferior they have inferiority complex, right? And they have failed in life, and they think so low of themselves, and they have such little accomplishments that they have to go dig into pages of history
The
books,
accomplishments of others.
the accomplishments of people greater than them and a much distant time, as a way to make up for the fact that they're such failures. That's why they do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually like a very good way of putting it. You know, no body shaming to people with the small packages, though.
No, yeah, small dick is symbolism for inferiority complex. Okay. I mean, technically, if you do have small dicks, it is like a disadvantage. Let's not kid. People are like, oh no. Okay, so we're not shaming you. Okay, but like just like somebody who like doesn't have a hand, for example, we're not saying like, oh, you're like, we're not going to shame you for not having a hand. All right, but like it's inconvenient. Okay, like you are, it would be better if you had a hand. Like, is that are we? If you're blind, okay, we're not going to shame you for being blind, but obviously it would have been better if you were not blind. Okay, so if
you wouldn't
it
have
is,
certain difficulties in life.
it would be, you would have a more difficult life. Like, it's just, we're being honest. We're not shaming you. We're just being honest. So that's why, because it's a disadvantage. And because a lot of people are insecure about that disadvantage, it has become a very useful symbolism for all sorts of inferiority complexes. Yeah, but maybe it's is it sexist to use that as symbolism? Do you think?
I just think it's a really obvious double standard when like fat activists and body positive activists are like, if you don't want to have sex with fat women, like you're fat phobic and you're body shaming and you're all this stuff, blah blah blah. And then when someone doesn't want to have sex with them, they're like, oh well, you just have a small penis anyways. Like, I'm like, that's body shaming too, girl. What the hell? So that kind of like double standard really pisses me
Okay, so
off.
I don't have a double standard, because I would say if you are a fat chick, that's even a bigger disadvantage. Being a fat chick, being fat,
Here we go.
It's a bigger disadvantage than having a small penis. Okay, because like it messes with your sex life, but also health.
Your overall
okay?
health. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
overall
agree.
health. So it's a much worse. So I'm not being sexist towards against men when I say that. I'm being consistent. Like, I'm being honest. This is a disadvantage. Okay, like what do you want me to say? Like, oh my god, So there you go.
This show has been like all over the place in terms of like different takes, like across the spectrum. Like,
No, but okay. So I know that saying small dicks are bad is not sexist. But I was wondering if it's sexist to use that as a symbol of inferiority complex. You know what I mean? given that I haven't used anything in a woman's body, any defects in a woman's body as a symbol of inferiority complex. You know, so
I think it
that.
is.
Mm.
Because women, I mean, historically, men, not even men, people use references to women to denote inferiority, like the C word that I can't say on YouTube, like stuff like that.
But isn't it men that usually mostly have inferiority complex? Oh, yeah, I don't want to generalize. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I have to
the
think
fact that most men
okay.
have penises, yeah.
Okay, from now
But
on,
like women also definitely reinforce that a lot.
How about this? From now on, I will say, as a symbol of inferiority complex, I would say they have small dicks and loose vaginas. Is that good? Just to be
Wait.
Is that good? I just want to be fair to men. Okay, I just want to be fair to men.
That was not the direction I was thinking we were going.
I
it was
just
like,
want to make
so
sure
should
that
we drop it or not? He's like, no, we're adding.
No, I don't want to drop. I don't want to be politically correct. Okay, I just want to be consistent.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like it nailed it.
Oh my god.
Equality.
Yeah, equality. Oh my god.
What about women about bobs are much more insecure, even though it's better that way. I agree. I like smaller ones.
No, that's not what he said at all.
Oh, what
That's
is
not
it?
what he said at all. But glad that we know your opinion now. He's saying that women are more insecure about their breasts than what's downstairs.
Yeah, and he says even though it's better that way, like he's saying smaller boobs are better anyways.
Where does it say anything about this being small?
He's saying women are insecure about their boobs, okay, which is right. So if it's a small boob, they think like, oh my god, it's too small.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with size, Armin. They're just generally insecure. As a woman, there's a multitude of aspects of a breast to be insecure.
But that's what he's
not
saying.
Just the size.
Okay, when he said like, okay, but I know they're insecure about. Okay, so yeah, maybe they're insecure about in different ways. But I think he's referring to the size because he follows by saying even though it's better that way. What is he saying that it's better? Like he's saying the smaller one is nicer too. But guys, it has to fit within the palm of your hand. Okay, you should be able to cover it full. If I can't cover it full with one hand, then it's too big.
Oh my god. Small dicks and saggy titties. There we go. There we go.
There you go. That's perfect. Nobody. Okay. When it comes to size, tits could. Some people like it big. Some people like it small. But nobody likes a saggy titty. I mean, not that many people. That's good. I'm gonna say that. Stealing that line.
Oh my god. We're having a lot of fun on the show today.
Yeah.
Okay. So Asian American is asking. So this is referring to a moment we had during last week's Q&A when Oxymoron and PK were talking to each other about different things that they observed from the media that they were getting in India, and Asian American noticed a large disconnect between these people and the media diet of what they were consuming. So Asian American is asking, in recent news discussion that was had comparing the rates of Muslim and Hindu attacks, there was a debate on who had it worse. How much do you think different algorithmic media diets have impacted this perception, along with the human psychological, what's the word I'm looking for? Predisposition to overemphasizing bad news? Should algorithms correct for this bad news bias? What do you think, Armin?
When you say should, like algorithms, like you put the profit motive aside. Is that what you say for the companies?
Well, I mean, we've seen with the recent whistleblower situation at Facebook, just how detrimental things can get when they do put their profit motive above.
Okay. I think the question should be, would it be better? Because when you say should instead of would it be better, then you require some enforcement power. Because you could say should as much as you like, and they're like,
But who's
how
going
are
to come
you
make them?
how are you going to make them, right? So would it be better? Yeah. So if the question is like, would it be better if like social media companies adjust the algorithm in a way that takes into account what news has more utility for people to see, what news, what information makes the societies a better place for people to live, if they watch, if based on what they're seeing in news, so like, let's say for example, Facebook mission statement, like, rather than us showing things in the algorithm that makes the highest number of people stay on our platform, we change our mission statement to put in things in our on our feed that makes society better. Okay, so they're changing their message, or maybe just move a little bit in that direction. Okay, so because right now the algorithm is supposed to work in a way that you get the highest amount of dopamine hits in the shortest amount of time, so that you just stay on the platform. The motivation is to keep you on the platform. Okay, and obviously that's not the best algorithm. That's like that could be very harmful. Okay, if they change it to that algorithm, change the algorithm so that you see things that are more useful, what happens is that another social media company is going to come and take the market share from Facebook away. Okay, like, oh my, okay, so you're going to go on Facebook and you're going to see news that is not going to make things on the feed, that's not going to keep you on Facebook. And then you're going to go to that other social media platform and they don't have that limitation. They're going to give you exactly what they think is going to keep them on their platform. So slowly, Facebook will lose their members, and the other platform will gain it. Right. So for something like that to work, you have to introduce an industry standard that all social media companies will have to abide by, and the only person that could do that, the only entity that could do that, is the government, right? And I'm not against that. If you could show enough harm, like for example, this could be like, hey, we have industry standards for the pollution you make by factories, like, and there's limitations on that people have to abide by. So why can't we have an industry standard introduced by the government for all social media to have to be abiding by? And the problem with that is the competition for social media is global, right? So, for example, if you have a factory somewhere um, and it's easier for another social media company that doesn't have to abide by U.S. laws to come eat your lunch from another country. You know what I mean? And would you need an international law? So again, I'm just saying, the short answer is that it's so difficult and complicated that it might not even be possible, right? The adjustment, this is such a monster that the adjustment might have to come from people. Like, it might have to be educating people about the way they consume social media, might
Mm.
be end up being a more useful and immediate solution, because the fixing it from the social media side seems like an impossible task, right? More people need to be educated about how harmful social media consumption is to the way their brains operate. I think that's the solution.
That makes sense. I don't know like how much that will work. Like the alternative is so much more attractive. Or
Yeah, people want
it
like,
has more instant
"Daddy government,
gratification.
save me, Daddy government, save me. I'm so lazy to understand these things. Help me."
um So I need to drop off right now, and that was the end of our patron questions. If you want to make sure that I answer your patron question, or you get that special attention during patron questions, you can join our Patreon, link in the description below. You support everything we do here. Before I drop off and you start to bring members on, I would also like to say, don't forget to tune into the news show this week, same time in 2 days. And we have so much juicy news that we have to catch up on that we missed over the past week when I was gone from, medical leave. Like, we have so much juicy news from India this week. Like, get excited. because there's a lot to get into. So, with that, I'll say goodbye.
Wait. Before you go, can you stay for a second while I go use the washroom? Just hang out with people just for like 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna post the question for members to be able to come ask their questions live on air if they want to. I'm gonna post it of only members will be able to see this, and this is gonna be on the community tab. But I will be right back. You just hang out with everybody. Just 1 second.
I'm laughing so hard right now at going back in the chat and reacting to the people reacting to Armin's comments about the small boobs. Like Armin is projecting. I personally didn't think that sentence was referring to the size of the breasts at all. Oh wait, no, Oxymoron is saying no, Armin got it right. Small boobs are better for women. Man, I was the one in the wrong. Okay. It's like they're ready to say in one sentence. So much possibility. What a weird stream. The stream is getting weird. We've been having, it was a rip roaring good time today. We were just feeling loose. Like, I don't know what it was.
Weird is what we do.
Oh, wait. Question, Susanna, where did you get that artwork on your left? Well, wait, which left? My left? This one that I have down here? This is from artist Sean Taseer. And he is actually an activist who is an anti-blasphemy activist in Pakistan and a personal hero of mine. And I won, like he did a giveaway for his art and I won it. And yeah, Sean Taseer has been a guest on Secular Jihadists a few times and he's really talented. And I also think he's one of the smartest people I know. So I love to have his artwork here. Anyways,
Pakistan's in the bud.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of fun with you today, Armin.
Same.
I
think I'm gonna just be like
get into all this.
I think I'm just gonna spend like only a little bit of time because I don't think anyone's gonna come up today. But I'm gonna spend some time with the live chat.
Okay. We also have I think another live chat question that I had. Anyways, okay. Bye guys.
Right. Bye.
Whoops.
All right. Okay, let's look at the live chat questions. Vikram is saying, do you think online political content might be bad for mental health, especially considering how all sides engage in a lot of drama and the content is really stressful? I think it's not just online political content that is bad for mental health. It's online content in general is making people addicted to quick dopamine hits the way that only gambling addicts used to be exposed to, but now like everybody is, like more people are, like, so I don't know, like people who have addiction to porn or addiction to gambling used to be the only groups in society that needed really quick fixes of dopamine hits, right? But now, because everybody is introduced to, just the phone is so accessible for you to just go on your feed and get that dopamine hit really fast whenever you need it, because it's so accessible, you're not used to not getting the dopamine hit. And you need, many things in life have become extremely boring because the level, if you don't get that, you're going to have below normal levels of dopamine in your body, right? So it's oxytocin too, okay. But so therefore it's harder for you now to enjoy like reading a book, or I don't know, watching the sunset, or just going for a walk. It's just so harder these days to enjoy that because the way you're used to like quick aggressive dosages, like just getting that hit so fast and so accessible, you don't have any patience to not get that for a long period of time. So you can't, like, even when you're eating your breakfast, you're like, okay, I can't just, like, this is too boring. Like, I'm eating my breakfast and I'm like not looking at my feed. Like, where's my, so I have to like look at my feed with one hand and then eat food with the other hand, right? Because you cannot not get that hit. So the problem is that a lot of productive things in life requires you to get a dopamine reward after you accomplish something. You know what I mean? Like after you go for a long walk, or after you finish a goddamn book, or after you finish a project, right? And it's, productivity, like after you code like something, like you finish a code, like, or after you figure out how something works in a code, like, or after you solve a puzzle, right? So because you're supposed to get that reward after accomplishing something, but now you're getting all that reward just by being able to go on your feed or watching, like, porn or something, then you get the reward with that making that accomplishment. So now getting the reward through that accomplishment is becoming so difficult because, like, I could get this hit a lot easier. So you just think there's something wrong. You get so easily distracted. You get so easily bored. And I think, I'm not sure, the way to fix that has been, people said, like, to maybe go through boring situations for a long period of time, just so that you get addicted to doing something else. Like, for example, right now, if you can't finish a book because it's not giving you the dopamine hit that you want, okay? Because Facebook, for example, gives that to you so much easier, right? But if you isolate yourself from social media for a long time, or maybe just go through walk in nature, or like go on a trip without internet for a long period of time, your brain would be so desperate. It's kind of like if you're on a diet, if you're like go on a diet and you don't eat for a while, broccoli all of a sudden starts tasting like candy, right? If you're starved, right? So if you're starved for dopamine, then reading a book is going to become as interesting as, going through your Facebook feed, because you have deprived yourself so much from that dopamine hit that now the book that used to be boring now all of a sudden anything looks interesting right now, right? So I heard that is the solution from just depriving yourself from any dopamine hits for a very long period of time. But I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, because I'm not an expert in any of this, right? Meditation. Some people are saying meditation. Yes, yeah, PK is saying meditation could be the solution. Yeah, if you go through like half an hour of meditation daily, then you're going to be starving for anything that will give you the dopamine hit that you want, including, I don't know, finishing a project or reading a book. Or maybe just like, if you manage to just not use social media for entertainment, then other things becomes very interesting. Asian American, I see you keep oxymoron. I see you're waiting. I'm just going to finish these two other points. Oh, just 1 point. I'll just finish 1 point. No, 2 points, and then I'll bring oxymoron and Asian American up. Okay. So here's another live chat question. Secular Red saying, but Armin, this conflicts with your earlier statement on Apple's phone chargers. If the EU can demonstrate not having a universal phone charger is harmful, right? Okay, so no, that's different, because this is not like harmful. This is just like, it's not like a harm that is being imposed on you, because you could as easily just not buy Apple. You could as easily just buy, like, okay, I don't like your charger, I'm just going to buy Android phones, right? But Apple is making, like, if you buy Apple, even though you don't like your charger, you're saying that I like your product so much that even though I don't like this charger, I'm still going to buy it, right? When it comes to social media, you're liking something that is bad for you. You're actively consuming the product. You want the thing that is bad for you. When it comes to Apple, you don't like the charger. You don't like the charger, but you're still buying it because of the other things that you like. This one, you're becoming addicted to something that is harming you, and you're like, the reason why you're getting it is the harm. So it would be more equivalent to tobacco or alcohol or gambling. Those are the products that it would be more equivalent to. And then Last question before I bring Oxymoron and then Asian American on. What's the name? Last Thursdayism. Oh, Thursday. Oh, a fellow third. No, you're not the last Thursdayism believer. I'm also like I support that church. Okay. So last Thursdayism believer saying ex-Muslim scholar Askar Askar Ali's speech is now available with English translation in Nuruz YouTube channel. Okay, I don't know. This is what Susanna highlighted. I don't know what this is, but Susanna wanted this to be highlighted. They wanted this to be highlighted, and there we are. Okay, let me just bring Oxymoron, and then after that, Asian American. Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Did you watch The Dark Knight?
The Dark Knight?
Movie yes, the Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it fine if I do a little bit defense of the Ramayana stream you did?
The defense of Rama?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna bring Asian American up for this as well, so we could all talk at the same time.
Okay.
All right.
Asian American, did you watch The Dark Knight?
Yes, I did.
Hello.
So in The Dark Knight, Mr. Bruce, who's Batman, he chooses his girlfriend. No, she's not even his girlfriend. His love interest over Harvey Dent, which ideally should have been preference because he was the White Knight of Gotham. He stood for inspiration. He was of image that he was working for betterment of the city of Gotham, and I think a political figure. So ideally, he should have preferred saving Harvey Dent over I think Rachel. Rachel is the name of his girlfriend.
Wait, I don't remember the storyline. You're saying that the Batman chose saving his girlfriend over the people?
He did make that choice. The Joker told him to choose between the two. Then the Joker was reverse Santa Claus kind of figure. So he swapped he did the swap thing. So even though Batman chose, Batman chose his girlfriend, which he ideally shouldn't have done. So that's the point.
So you're saying Batman chose saving his girlfriend over the people, but he shouldn't have done that. But Rama chose the people over his girlfriend.
Yeah. No. He didn't even choose his people over the girlfriend, but that's the bigger argument that do people matter? So Batman failed at that. So Mr. Nolan tries to bring something to elevate the movie. He tries to bring.
Okay, wait. So somebody's saying you're missing. No, the story is not that the story was not. Because I forgot the story. Okay, but somebody's correcting you on Twitch. Shake is saying he chose his girl over Harvey, not over the people.
Yes. But then the goodness. Mr. Nolan brings this spirit of Gotham kind of arguments. So the people are good, but the Batman was wrong. The hero, the god was wrong. So he was trying to make an argument that Batman is God who's acting like no. He was human acting like a god. So the gods are flawed kind of argument. But the people of Gotham didn't. After the scene, the Joker gives this I think explosive to two groups of people who don't blow up each other. So he brings an argument of the spirit of Gotham.
What's your point? How you're defending Rama over this?
So the people's opinion mattered to Ram, to even Sita. I think the whole
people's opinions could be wrong.
Yes, but they do matter.
Okay, can I?
Yeah, but they
weigh
do
in on
matter.
this?
That doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. I agree that they matter, but they
So
matter, and you could stand against them.
Okay, can I weigh in on this?
Yeah, go on.
yeah.
Okay, so the thing is, Batman made the choice as Bruce Wayne, not as the Batman. Like, I guess I'm guessing Batman is the title that he conferred upon himself. What?
Can you? The mic is a little bit too close to your mouth.
Okay, sorry. Um, I'm guessing so. Bruce Wayne, sorry, Batman made that decision as Bruce Wayne, not as the Batman, which is the people's whatever. At the end of the day, he's still a person with his own rights and own feelings, and he has a right to that. I guess what you're asking is, should Batman, or Bruce Wayne rather, have sacrificed everything for the sake of the people, the same way Rama did, which is to sacrifice his life, love, and happiness for the sake of the people. But in my personal opinion, so I'm an atheist and ex-Confucian, so like my way of thinking about this is Rama, as the seventh avatar of Lord Vishnu, should have tried to change the teachings, should have tried to be like, hey, so what if Sita may or may not have slept with this person? It shouldn't have mattered. These rumors shouldn't have mattered. He should have tried his best to change the values and the minds of these people, and to help cultivate these people into being better people, or with better values. But he didn't. That's my personal opinion about the Lord Rama situation.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's a difference between how Valmiki is portraying Ramayana and how Nolan portrays in Dark Knight. So the difference is, in Dark Knight, Nolan makes this fictional story that people won't blow up each other in real life. They possibly would blow up each other to survive. So in Valmiki's Ramayana, Valmiki does not lie about the inherent flaws of society. So
Okay,
the
but Oxymoron, the problem is that you make it seem like Rama was doing this um, for the sake of the people, but the text makes it obvious that the people's opinions matter, but they matter because he cares about his own reputation. Like, like in the Dark Knight movie, even whether he did this, if he decided to help, choose to help the people, he would do that for the sake of saving the people. Like if you look at the Dark Knight, his reputation did not matter to him, and in fact, sometimes he sacrificed his reputation. He made it so that people hate him for the sake of the greater good. But Rama's main priority was not the people, was not Sita. His main priority was for his reputation to survive, for people to recognize that he did a good thing, for people to recognize that he's a hero, for people to recognize that he did he won, he did the manly thing, and he won in this fight, and for people to cherish him for that, and for people not to think that speak around behind his back, saying like, oh, you're with a woman that is dishonorable to be with. Like nothing else matters to him. People don't matter to him. Sita doesn't matter to him. It's his name and his honor that is the only thing that matters to him.
uh, I think you just misread the whole situation because
He literally says that.
yeah,
Like
but
he literally spells it out to you. Like he
but Ramayana
specifically
doesn't work like
says
Quran. But
what?
Ramayana doesn't work like Quran. It's a continuous
So
story.
okay, so do words, like it doesn't work like the Quran? Do words mean the opposite things of what they're saying in the Ramayana?
Yes,
Like
yes, yes, they do.
they mean the opposite thing. Okay, so if you read if Ramayana says like, oh, the main thing that matters to me is my reputation, the way that Ramayana works is like he actually means the opposite of what we're reading. That's how it
Okay,
works.
the first flaw is, I think, the Marxist version which Katie brought. I think so. She completely eliminates character of Sita.
Who?
So if you look
The
back,
character of Sita.
so
Okay, Sita. See, we included the character of Sita. Sita had a great defense of herself. Her voice was in this text. she was like giving the speech, like her Sita was not eliminated. Half of what we read was Sita's defense of herself.
Yeah, but you just read that part. You don't read the whole part of Ramayana until this event happened. So Rama, when the Sita was taken away, so he was always crying about how he loved Sita. How it's actually uh, multiple times this has happened since the first time she was taken away. He was crying in front of his brother. Then again he found her ornaments. He was crying. He wanted Sita. So even before the war, he was crying all about the Sita until that moment. Even during the war, so somebody said that Sita is dead. I think Indrajit, who was Ravana's son, he killed the Sita, and news was brought to him. So he was actually crying about how Sita is actually he loved Sita, and he would now that Sita is dead, it's not the war is not worth fighting for until
How was
Lakshman,
that
his brother.
context missed? That was also
Yes,
mentioned.
because when
mentioned
we
that.
read Ramayana, until that point, the things start to change. It's like when we read the
We know
Valmiki.
things change. People start making accusations against Sita. We know that. It says within the text that we read, it says that you used to only speak well of me. And even then, like you're like, oh, you're missing the part that he cries. He cries even in the part that we read. He cries over Sita. That doesn't contradict anything that we're saying.
No. Rama was trying to save Sita's image.
No, he was trying to. Okay, how?
He was taking blame on himself. He changes his words at that moment when he tries to. So how Sita
He
comes to
says
Ram
that
is
you are not. He says in front of everybody that
yeah.
you're not
He
desired.
was trying to make the point in front of everybody.
Yeah, in front. He ruined her in front of everybody. Like you're saying, he's trying to. You're saying you're imagining things that are not there. You're saying he was trying to take the blame on himself, but what we read is that in front of everybody, he ridiculed her. He, in front of everybody, said he made her worthless. He says, "How could I accept you? What honorable man would ever take you?" That he specifically to her face said that you are undesirable now because of the accusations. How is this taking the blame to himself? He specifically defended himself. He says, I am great. He said, I am perfect. He said, I won this battle. He said, you are so undesirable that I didn't even do this to come and save you. He's praising himself and ridiculing her in front of all the people. And you're saying he's blaming her. He's trying to buy the blame to himself. You're imagining the opposite. You're so blinded by dogma that you're seeing the opposite of what the clear text is saying.
Okay. Let me. It will take a little bit time. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
To make an argument.
So here's my thoughts on it. Rama should have just taken in the L and been like, okay, so what if you're dishonored? So what if people say these things about you? I'll still love you as my wife. I'll still take you back in, and the opinion of these people shouldn't matter. The thing is, he's a literal avatar of God. Like he is Buddha's previous life or something, according to some Vaishnavas. My point being is that he should have still taken the L. Like there was someone who literally spat in Buddha's face, and then the next day was like, hey Buddha, I'm very sorry, can you please forgive me? And Buddha said, oh well, I don't need to forgive you because there's nothing to forgive. Like Rama could have just taken the L and just been with the quote unquote dishonorable or socially disreputable person, but he chose not to. He made the decision not to. He made the decision to cast her out into the forest. And when Sita gave birth to Rama's child in the forest, that child defeated Rama in battle. And that's when Rama realized that Dharma had left him and that he did the dishonorable thing by casting her out.
Okay. So first, I think Sita has been abducted before. By Khara in the same Valmiki Ramayana. He doesn't make the similar arguments when the first time the Sita has been abducted, like, look, I am the great man and all that, then she's actually the second incidents why Ramayana, second incidents when, hey, am I there?
Yeah, you're here.
Oh, okay. The second time, there's another demon when he defeats another demon. So then there instance where Valmiki tries to portray how Sita walks towards Ram. She comes running to Ram and happily greets him. Now, would you just bring that? Is it possible to you to bring the text again? The Valmiki Ramayana thing, which you were talking about.
I don't know. Just tell me, how does this contradict everything we're saying over the
No, no,
text
no, no,
that
no.
we read?
So the third time when the Sita was coming, so she was ashamed of herself. When the third time she was coming, I think it was 10 months period. She was abducted. Her limbs were shivering. I think they
How
weren't
does this
shivering. They were
contradict
shivering.
what anything we're saying?
Oh,
I
okay.
think she was ashamed. The Sita
Okay.
herself was
So why
ashamed
did
of
he
how
shame her
people
in
Okay.
front of?
optics.
Okay, and then he
So
shamed her
when you
extra.
shame her, you look the bad person. You take
What do
blame
you?
upon you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think this might be two different
That's
cultural
abusive.
things. Yeah. So this sounds like a cultural disconnect. Like shaming someone is somehow self-flagellation because Sita. Because that sounds like, okay, Sita married into Rama's family, and when Rama, I guess, shames Sita, he's shaming his family and himself for sullying his family's reputation by being with Sita. Is that what's going on?
No, okay. So I think oxymoron is looking at everything from a Western perspective, very ironically, okay?
Okay.
Because he thinks shaming somebody for being dishonorable is so bad that everybody there will clearly have seen that Rama is the evil person here, okay? So it's
Yes,
very interesting.
actually,
No,
you can see the other
you're
people
putting
criticizing Rama at the same time.
no, it's a god, and Sita herself is doing this. Okay, Sita is like,
Okay.
"What are you doing this to me?" Okay, all right, but you have to understand that. Okay, so this is the Muhammad. You have an Abrahamic mindset right now. Okay, because Muhammad also did things, for example, that other people didn't like. Okay, but the problem is that Sita is not the role model. The other people that came here and told him that you did something bad, they're not the role model. Rama is supposed to be. Oh, Gajin American. Rama is supposed to be this person that doesn't do anything wrong. Rama is the person that people say Jai Shri Ram. Rama is the person that everybody's glorifying as the person that you're supposed to cherish as a role model, just like Muhammad is, right? So if you have in your story other people who are disagreeing with you, that does not change the morale of the story. The morale of the story is like Rama is great, okay? And also, this is like a horrible idea. Horrible idea. Obviously, you're trying to like help Sita. Well, obviously, Sita is not having it. Like she's heartbroken. You're destroying her. And even after that, you're like, oh, I'm trying to just ruin myself so I could protect Sita. Bull crap. Even after this, even after she clears her name, you still think she's dirty enough and you still abandon her. You still banish her to the forest. Like it's very clear that the issue is Rama doesn't want to be with Sita because she's been with another man. So this is like this is completely purity culture. This is purity culture because why would he not keep her after she cleared her name by burning herself alive?
So I think you are taking the character of Sita too lightly. She wasn't a commoner person. She was a queen. So
Yeah,
before
what do you mean? You're saying we read that. How do you keep saying that I don't know things that I claim?
legitimacy matters.
I know, but you're saying like you don't know this, okay? But I read that part. I read that part in.
Or
Yeah,
okay,
go on.
yeah, sorry. Or Rama could have just wrote a new constitution, but like, hey, we inherit things matrilineally now. That could also be a thing. Or
Yeah, you could have
create
posted a new norm.
Yeah, this is a new norm. I'm literally an avatar of God. I can do whatever the fuck I want and just pass a new law. Sorry if that got you demonetized.
Oh,
He could have just passed that into law. Like Wu Zetian tried to do that when she became the son of heaven and emperor of all over China. She tried to change a lot of laws. Rama could have
Yeah.
also tried to change laws, but he
Yeah,
didn't.
No,
he
Rama couldn't
he
have
said from
done
now on.
without the consent of people. Problem is,
He's a
people matter to Ram.
He's a god.
People's
a god,
opinions
and
did matter to Ram. So even if he didn't trust them, he didn't like them. It was his job to
Okay,
actually get people.
oxymoron. See, this is the Islamic defense you're having. Okay, you're having an Abrahamic mindset right now. Okay, you're doing the Islamic thing. Okay,
I'm fine with that.
so okay, let me tell you why you're doing that. Okay, because even let's say what you're saying is true. Okay, let's say that what actually happened. Okay, was Rama didn't care about his reputation. He said like, hey, you are dirty. Which honorable man would be right with you right now? And you are undesired, and the people might be talking about behind my back, and that's bad for my reputation. And therefore, because of all this, I have to banish you. Okay, you're saying Rama said all of that, and he meant none of it. Okay,
Yes.
that is your
Yes.
claim. You're saying
Yes.
he was lying about all of that in a way
Yes.
to protect Sita. Okay, I know you're
Yes.
saying that. Okay. If that is true, that is such a gymnastic. You're like changing the narrative in a way that you have to play like 4D chess to be able to get that out of the story. Okay.
No, I don't
And
have to.
look,
If you read the story, you will
hold
realize it.
on. That is not the interpretation that people get when they are reading the epics. Okay,
No, they
that
do.
is
Actually.
no, that's not.
Oh,
That is
okay.
not, that is not the mainstream interpretation. So what I say about the Quran, when Muslims say like, oh, when the Quran says like, oh, go behead these people, he's not saying this. And like, oh, when the Quran says like, beat your wife if she's like disobedient, this is what they actually means. Okay, and to be fair to them, if you twist the framework that you're looking at the Quran to the way that they want, some of the interpretations that they have could be true. Like you have to really twist and turn things for you to get the interpretation that they want out of the Quran. The problem is that even if you want to get that more, we want to be charitable and say, well, the Quran actually meant that, you could still criticize the Quran for writing something that could so easily be interpreted as pro-wife beating. So even I'm not saying what you're saying is true. It's like I think it's ridiculous to suggest that the epics are saying what you're saying it is. Okay, but even if it is true, I will still condemn them for writing a certain moral story that, and you can easily interpret it as pro purity culture. You understand what I'm saying? No. Before you reject what I'm
let's
saying,
do Batman. So the Batman.
Before you reject what I'm saying, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then that's not
What am
how
I
Dharma
saying?
works. So the story should have been very simple.
No. The story could have been not simple. The story could have been very complicated, but still be easily interpreted as something that not as harmful. Do you understand
But
what I'm
then
saying?
how does he make the point without complexity?
No,
Without bringing in
if you're
complexity.
supposed to be a moral guide to millions of people, okay, this is a really bad way of doing it.
Okay, so a lot of people don't realize this. The Rama wasn't the moral guy in this Valmiki Ramayana. He became the god later on in different stories. So there are version of Ramayana.
He is a god in the same story. What are you talking about? They tell him, they let him. What are you talking about? He became a god in
Well,
the
gods
story.
are flawed. No, that's not the problem. The people
he is celebrated
he
as
wasn't a
the most
devotional god.
important god.
He wasn't a material of devotion until Tulsidas wrote, which is like 14th
in
century.
the same script, okay, you're like really twisting things right now. In the
No,
very
no.
script that we read, they told him that he's a reincarnation of. They even made sure that they make bring other gods in there as a way to show that he is superior to all the other ones. The text was the entire text is a Vishnavite propaganda as a way to show that Vishnu and all his avatars are greater than everybody else. They claim that your eyes are like
He
the cause. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
They
So
brought
in
in to criticize the Ram position of Ram.
I was
She's
going to,
Lakshmi, you are.
I was
Agent.
going to say that in the contest where Ram wins Sita's hand, he literally breaks the bow of Shiva as like I'm not sure if it was a jibe at the Shivites, but it was a way of showing everyone like, hey, this guy is strong enough to break the bow of Shiva.
But in same Ramayana, Rama worships Shiva multiple times, actually.
Yeah, as a way. Okay, so okay, so I maybe I have to educate you as a Hinduism. So the way that it works is that you show that the Vaishnavites try to show like, hey, Shiva is worthy of respect, but Vishnu is superior. That's the whole point. The point is
Yes.
like we worship Shiva. Shiva is worthy of worshiping, so we're not anti-Shiva, but know your place. Vishnu is the
But
superior god. So him
but if
worshiping to
Ram
Shiva does
worships
not
Shiva
contradict that.
in the same text multiple times as his favorite deity, so it changes a lot of things. So it would
No, I
mean
just literally explained to you the worshiping does not mean that you're superior than Vishnu. This worshiping is like is a message that we're not denying your godhood. That's the message of him worshiping Shiva.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. It probably is that way. I mean,
Well,
it
then,
certainly is that
well,
way.
you should care
It's
about
certain.
that because if you do agree with us, then worshiping Shiva does not contradict anything that we're saying. The whole idea is that Ram, as a reincarnation, as an incarnation of Vishnu, is the superior to everybody else over there. That's the whole point of the epics. That's the point of Ramayana. So you're like, when you say you should care, because when you all of a sudden claim that he's a nobody until later, not according to the very text that we're reading.
Yeah. Okay. Can I make a little bit different point about
Wait,
Sita?
let me see if Ibn Qayyim is here.
Kayam is here.
Qayyim.
Kayam.
Can you Qayyim? Okay, Ibn Qayyim. Can you say? Do you want to add something to this, or do you want to ask about something else after we go?
Oh no. I've got a question on something else, so I can leave it for now. Yeah.
Okay, Let's Oxymora, make
I'm
your
just
last
walking up.
point. Okay. sounds good.
Now, can I make point about Sita?
Okay, last point. Keep it short because I want to also go to
Okay,
Asian
so
American and
Sita is the woman when Rama was banished to forest. Sita did not question because that is something the king should have behaved. So again, when Ravana abducted Sita, she had chance to flee with Hanuman. She did not want to flee, and she wanted Ravana to be killed because that is how queen behaves. So when
wait, we want who to be killed? Wait, what?
Ravan to be killed. So she actually instigated the war because she could have just left with Hanuman when there was an offer from Hanuman that
Wait,
he could
who
take
wanted
away.
Wait, Sita, you're saying something. You're saying Sita wanted Ram to be killed?
Ravana,
Oh, Ravana.
because that
okay.
is because she was
Yeah, but
queen, and that
how
is
does this?
the
Okay, but how does that
she was
contradict
also a
everything we're
people's
saying?
person.
Okay, and
She
how does
knew
that contradict?
the optics of the kingdom, so she was a queen. She shouldn't have been taken away. So
How does that
when
contradict anything we're saying?
No, so you are trying to portray Sita as some vulnerable victim, but when she was making a choice.
No, what you're saying is confirming what we're saying. She's a victim of honor culture and purity culture, and you're saying that the culture is so dominant that she has submitted to it. This is actually agrees with our point. It doesn't agree with your point.
Yes, but
Just because
then
do
she
you
makes a
understand?
choice,
Do you
so I
understand?
don't.
I think you're misunderstanding. Do you understand that women who submit to purity culture, the fact that they have submitted to it and they accept it, it doesn't mean that they're not a victim of purity culture. They're still they're a bigger, if they agree to it, they are a bigger victim of purity culture. It doesn't make them a lesser victim of purity culture. It makes them a bigger victim of purity culture.
I mean,
Yeah.
purity culture is not always bad thing.
Okay, so
Well, there we go. Disagree.
we're gonna have to disagree on that one because it wasn't like, here's the thing: women who were victim of purity culture, like, it really messes them up because it wasn't the men who broke the women's feet in female foot binding. It was other women who broke their feet in foot binding. Like, that's how indoctrinated they were into this culture because they wanted their daughters to be more marketable. And it sounds like Sita was like, yes, she was a woman of her time. She was indoctrinated into this, and she wanted revenge for the dishonor that Ravana has shown to her, which is abducting her in such a manner. And no, we're not
Well,
trying to portray Sita as a saint. We're just saying that she was a victim of this. Like, two wrongs don't make a right. Like, she did something wrong, and then Ram did something wrong later on. Like, they were both wrong in their own sense.
but then
we
that
should-
was the norm, and if you can it wasn't a democracy. So I think it was very justified because Ram wasn't changing the culture. He was just trying to be an
Well,
ideal
if it
king.
wasn't a
So,
democracy, then he had the authority to change the
Yeah.
norms.
no,
as
he
a
hadn't
God.
authority. He had
Well,
no
you're saying
authority over
it's
it.
a democracy. That's another point for us. You keep making points for us.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but
Sorry, was the Treta Yuga a democracy or an autarky? Because I would like to know. Did Ram have the authority to change all the rules over the people and patrilineal lines of inheritance, or did he not? Or where
no.
he had to respect the people. If he had to respect the people, then how come I did not hear how come the text does not mention councils of elders the same way stories of Krishna talked about how I think the Yaduva clan had councils of people that was abolished under the tyrannical king. Like, why weren't there mentions of the same clan councils as there were in the Treta Yuga?
I think yeah, I don't. There were councils. So when washerman was talking, no, the boatman was talking about it. So the councils would be judging her character too, the Sita's character. So nobody gets to make new rules. I think the rules were set by Manusmriti. God was just. It was just Rama was just playing by the rules of Manusmriti. So according to Manusmriti, if a woman is raped or even she goes by her, it's not her fault. So Ram could have gone that way, but he tried to demonstrate it. So the scriptures are living. So they don't contradict each other. They are not meant to contradict each other. The Manusmriti, the Ramayana, and the Mahabharata.
All right, I think we spent
So-
enough time on this one. We should move on to the next question.
Okay.
But anyways, that was interesting back and forth. We could continue having this discussion later. But okay, Gage American, did you want to bring something up?
Yeah, so my question was along the lines of the limits of logic, and at what point would someone need therapy instead of, because like some people, we can only get so far with logic, trying to logic someone out of a dogmatic ideological belief, and it's sometimes you have to like have them go through therapy in order to talk them out of a very bad dogmatic belief, and I would like your 2 cents on it.
I think you would need to talk to an expert with regards to that. But like, I think, like, are you talking about dogmatism as a form of mental condition, right? That needs more psychological evaluation rather than logical ones. Is that like what you're talking about?
Something along those lines, like people who talk about how I've talked to Jesus and stuff like how Jesus is the power and Jesus is this and Jesus is that. And for me, it's like I go to therapy and I'm just seeing how some of it is a little bit similar, except I don't talk to Jesus. I know that it's just another aspect of myself, but like other people name it different things, like Jesus or Buddha, or like sometimes the way they talked about it, they're like just in overall ecstasy in the ways they have these religious experiences, and I was just curious as
Wait, so
to.
do you see, like, do you have like what, do you mind, like, I don't know if I should ask this, like, do you mind telling us about your experiences?
My experience, like, I mean, like, witnessing street preachers, like, literally having, like, an orgasm
Oh
on the street, talking about Jesus.
no, I
But,
thought, like you said, I thought
oh,
like you
yeah, for
talked to
myself.
psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
first one.
no. But I haven't, okay, so I haven't talked to, like, a therapist about this, but, like, I have, like, been, um, I guess just, like, when I need to give myself more motivation to do something, or like I'm having like I guess toxic thoughts, but I'm guessing other people would label them as demons, or other people would label them as the, oh, I feel so motivated, I'm in the zone, oh, I'm
Yeah.
one with God. Like,
I,
I'm just thinking
I
about
think
how
I
those
think a lot
feelings are
of
stuck.
like rationalist activists or atheist activists or skeptic activists or humanist activists, they have this all or none approach, like that they want to, like, oh, but these logical, if we understand logical fallacies and look for evidence, we're not going to be able we're not going to be able to reach these group of people, okay, and other groups of people. But the way they talk about these other groups of people, they speak as if like we're going to be able to reach, like, I don't know, 90% of people with logic, right? And then there's going to be 10% remaining, and for them we have to come up with other way, okay? But it's actually completely the other way around. It's like, actually, with this is probably going to reach like 5% of the people, what we're doing, right? And these methods, like promoting science, promoting rational thinking, right? Promoting evidence-based understanding of things, this is, barely going to reach 5% of the population. I'm making up numbers, I don't know, right? So it's actually, because they think like we're on a mission to like get to everybody, and then they look at the society, like they meet some people that they're not able to change with any of these kind of thinking, and they're like, oh, okay, what do we do with these people? But my news flash to them is like, oh, these people that you just met, they're not just like a fringe, they're like the majority. And yes, we're not going to be reaching those people. But what they have to understand is like being able to get from, well, 2% of society to 3%, it's a major win that will have dramatic impact on society. So instead of like thinking about things in black and white, of like, oh, how do we get everybody? You're not going to get everybody. We're like pushing for an extra percent. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
So
do.
So
Yeah.
instead of trying to coming up with a way that reaches everybody, we have to go with the low hanging fruit. So we are like, what rationalist activists are trying to do is to tailor content in a way that reaches those that 1% that kind of content will eventually work on. To just add an extra 1% to that way of thinking in a society, which will have significant improvements in society, right? With a lot of other people, um, what we try to convince them of doesn't even require rationality. Okay, so for example, with the 90% that a lot of these contents will never work on, there needs to be another form of activism, which is improves tolerance and acceptance, um, without, and that will just be marketing through friendship and kindness, and just like, that doesn't even require argumentation. That just requires certain policies and promotion of certain behavior, and making people feel more warm and wholesome experiences, increasing those experiences, bringing people together. It just requires policies and promotion of certain attitudes to work on those people. So the rationality and logical thinking is for a very works on a very few people, and the way that we make sure that we're targeting it is that those groups of people is you just make the content where you're standing, and you don't even need to go to them because they come to you. So that's why it's a low hanging fruit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of yeah, okay. I guess I have another thing about communitarianism, which is one of the ideologies of the People's Action Party in Singapore, but that's going to be a different discussion. I'm just thinking about it like in terms of like everyday interactions with different people, because I think my boyfriend's family is like Catholic to some extent, like, or something like that. So it's just like, but he himself is like agnostic. So it's like just having conversations about that, or like not, like, I don't know, like just because sometimes it sounds like people like in beyond just logical arguments, some people need like actual therapy, and
Or
but
some
it's also
people.
it's yeah
Do
but
you,
it's something we can't force them onto it. It's a conclusion they have to come to them themselves.
I think. How long have you been an atheist?
Since I was 13, or before that, somewhere before that.
Okay, so
Sometime
I
before
think you will come at to a point where you realize that you just, for some people, that you need to be not wanting to change everybody.
that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's just the way. Like I think like through early stages of atheism, we see people who are like just like, why are you this way? Why can't you just think straight? And then we actively try to like change them, right?
Mm.
And I think like we at some point a lot of us come to the realization where like we just have to accept that a lot of people are not gonna see the world the way we do, and we just have to accept them the way they are,
Okay.
right? And instead of working on everybody, like what is the goal? Why would you try to change them instead of trying to, especially if you're like I would suggest to most people not to try to change people that are involved in your personal life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like don't shit where you eat, right?
Yeah. No, I understand.
So like I
No,
think yeah.
yeah, sorry. I was going more along the, like, I wasn't trying to say I was trying to convert them. I was just like,
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is me not understanding why some people would get really wrapped up over one book. The other part is, I'm not saying I'm just saying that as atheists and believers of certain religions, we've independently come to the same conclusion about certain things in terms um, of needing motivation, and they would seek Jesus or Buddha or what their source of motivation is. And when we have like, sometimes I deal with intrusive thoughts, and so like, other people will label those as demons. And then I'm just like thinking about how those two kind of intersect. Like I'm just thinking, like I was just thinking about that kind of situation, not necessarily, converting people to the same way of thinking as I am.
This is a very bad comparison, but I'm gonna make it anyways, right?
Uh-huh.
The way I started tolerating people, okay, is by reducing my expectation, right? I
Oh
look at my
God.
I look at my dog, okay, and I think to my dog, I'm like, I never get angry with my dog because he doesn't understand, I don't know, politics or philosophy. Like I never look at my dog and be like, why don't you understand? Why are you so stupid? Okay, like why can't I talk to you about world affairs, right? But my dog is very stupid when it comes to these things. But I love my dog. Okay, so I could start loving people the same way I love my dog by reducing my expectation of
Oh
how.
God.
I just, like I'm just telling you, it's easy to love people when you don't expect much from them.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, just you talking about your dog. It reminded me of a Chinese myth where this dog bit the head off of an enemy general, and then the king married the dog off to his daughter, and then put a bell over the dog to turn the dog into a person. But his daughter broke the spell by taking the bell off too early, and the dog was stuck with a dog head in a human body.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I thought about when you said dogs and gods.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing. Like we are the weird. Okay, so you look at like religious people, for example. Okay, we some of us, and like what are they believing? They're weirdos. Look at these weirdos. What are the things they believe in? But it's us. We're the weirdos. Okay, they are doing the human. They are the humans. Like, they're doing the human thing. It's a human thing to do. Okay, they're being tribal. They're following things. That is how humans operate. Okay, we're the black sheep. We're the ones who are like rebelling against the norm. We're the fringe. Okay, so they are doing what humans do. Okay, like a lot of people are like, oh, why do humans go to war? Why do people like are so tribal? Well, because they're human. That's you shouldn't expect anything else. All right. So when like just in the same way, I don't get angry with a wolf that is turning into a deer. Okay, I'm like, oh my god, why is the wolf doing that? Like it's doing what a wolf does. Okay, so I don't get it. When you start expecting that, then you don't get as frustrated anymore. I'm not saying. By the way, I'm not doing the appeal to nature fallacy.
No, I understand.
I'm not saying it's good because it's natural. No, it's bad. Okay, it's bad. But I expect it. Therefore, I don't get angry. That's not the appeal to nature fallacy.
Okay, so I'm gonna play my Chinese card. Atheists are the norm in China. It's the people who follow one strict set of books who are the weirdos. But I do understand where you're coming from.
No. I didn't say what I didn't mean like I didn't mean religion alone. I mean like tribalism, following, blindly accepting. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we kind of like independently invented new tribes in the vacuum of religion.
Yes.
In China,
like
that is.
I mean, a lot of atheists are like, oh my god, we're not blind followers, and then I start pissing on their sacred cows, and all of a sudden they like start pulling out their hair. Or like, you're like, you guys, just because you're not within the tribe of God believers, that doesn't mean you're not being tribal. You're still tribal. A lot of you are. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
right.
That's a good discussion.
Chaim.
How do you say it? I've been saying it again wrong all this time. Hey, Chaim. Are you awake now? He just woke up. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm tired, man. I just woken up.
Okay.
I just listen. I went through this survey thing, Gaman thing, right? When do you want to talk about this? Because I've been through it again, and to be honest, I think it's I don't think it's a very credible. But I just wanted to know when you want to discuss it.
Well, I mean, I emailed you. We could. That's about the Kashmir thing. So we could like, can you email me back and we'll like. So we're gonna. We're gonna want to have discussion with Oxymoron about Kashmir. Okay. So how about you email me back and I'll send you another time for the Gammon as well.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah, because I've done all the research now, so I'm ready to go on this one.
Okay, but here's the question: do you agree that every poll has its flaws and limitations?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree that even if a poll has flaws and limitation, it's still the best information that we have right now?
This one?
Yeah, so far.
No way.
Oh, you think we have better polls?
This poll is, I don't know where to begin as to how bad it is. But yeah, but obviously, I'm just woken up. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think it's very credible. By the way, it's good to see Susanna back. Yeah, it's been about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Looking as good as ever. But yeah, it's good to see her back. And I wanted to ask you another question, not on the poll, but on something else. But we can arrange. Do you know if you do on secular jihadists, if you have the if you open it up to people, I think you did last time, but I don't think many people popped on. If you have time during that, we could just do it at the end of one of those, or if you want to dedicate a specific stream to it, it's up to you.
No. We could do it and the next Q&A for secular jihadists, I'll open it up. We could do it over there. Let's do that. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay. So
Okay,
my
so
one
make sure
question.
you're there at the end of the Q&A for secular jihadists.
I will make sure. No worries. Okay. So the one question I have is, so when you refer to this is the best we can get from a Muslim country, you generally speak about Turkey. Not Turkey.
No.
Well,
That's not what I
Tunisia.
said. No.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we will have better polls at some point. Okay. I'm
Oh,
saying
no.
right now.
This is not in relation to the poll. No, I'm just saying
okay.
when you cover news and you say, let's say it's on Tunisia, right? And you say, or Malaysia, and then you say, oh, this is the best we can expect from a Muslim country, right?
Oh,
Sometimes.
yes. Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
What's your definition of a Muslim country?
Muslim country is a country where Muslim values have a significant impact on the way things on the country, a very significant impact.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't regard countries like Albania, Bosnia, Kosovo, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, countries like that. You wouldn't consider those as Muslim countries.
I think it would be arguable, debatable. I think they were like those. So there are countries that are obviously Muslim countries, and there are countries where we would have to have a discussion.
Right, cool. Yeah, no, I understand. What did you know? Tunisia's new government, by the way, not the government, but the guy who basically disbanded the previous government. He's brought the new constitution, and he's ensured that no reference to Islam is made in the constitution. So it's another secular dictator in the Middle East. Unfortunately, it's not giving us a good name, to be honest.
Yeah, secularism is gonna get a bad rep. Like, I don't know how many times we have to go through this where you force secularism down people. Like, I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like good to not have any mention of religion in your government documents. I just don't like it when it's done by somebody that is just right after an anti-democratic process that happened in Tunisia. Like, if this was like, I would have like welcomed this. I would have like praised this if this was just Tunisia doing this after an election or something like that, right? But
Agreed. Yeah. Don't you find it odd that the Muslim Brotherhood are the biggest fighters for democracy in that region, North Africa? They seem to be the biggest group that is fighting for democracy. Is Ikhwan Muslimin? I find that quite odd.
But the problem is that Akhwan Muslimin, the Muslim Brotherhood, they used to be more like, I don't know, Al Qaeda or ISIS, right? But then they decided to use the democratic model, the ways of a way to get Islam in, and it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because if they're successful, then all of a sudden Islamic. But okay, so here's the thing: it's not fair to refer to them as like, oh my God, Muslim Brotherhood is like fighting for democracy over there, okay? Because Muslim Brotherhood in Tunisia is like so different from Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and extremely different from Muslim Brotherhood in the Gaza Strip, right? Like, these are worlds apart.
They're like different organizations. They don't look like the same group of people, to be honest.
You go all the way from a democratic model in Tunisia to Hamas all of a sudden in the Gaza Strip, right? So they're not all the same thing. But the thing is that their failure is extremely dangerous. Like, as much as I would like Islamic parties to fail, is such a powerful weapon for radicals, right? Because the radicals are against the democratic model for Muslims, right? They're like, these are Western inventions, like having a parliament, having a presidency, having elections. These are all Western European inventions and are completely in contradiction with Islamic values. And every time they fail, it's a win for them to show like their method is the only way to win, because you have to because the democratic model, they say it's democracy, but if they win, they just bring their dictators, and if they win, they say, "Oh yeah, democracy won." Right? So it's democracy for them, but not for us. When we win the democratic method, they come take it away from us by force. And technically, they're right, right? Like in Egypt, if the democratic model works, they come and take it by force. In Turkey, if it works, like I don't know, like in Egypt, if it works, in Iran, if it works, everywhere, if it works, they either do or try to come and take it to you by force. So they say that Muslims, their message now is like, well, Muslims have to respond with force instead of playing the democracy game.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that one. Obviously, by the way, have you seen all the Albanians in the chat? They all go out when I mentioned the country.
Oh, really? Yeah. Gagin American wanted to open his mic. He wanted to say something.
I'm guessing it's just about who. Okay, so I'm guessing they would have to create their own secular military that's independent from I'm guessing the Muslim Brotherhood dominated militias that can stand up against them in a fight.
So here's I don't want Islam in government, right? But how do you? So people will ask you, where would we stand? Okay, because if we take the stand of the secularists, you're being anti-democratic, and if you take the side of democracy, you're basically taking the stance of more Islam in government. Okay, so people say, where do you stand? I'm like, I won't take a stance, okay? Like, because like I mean, I would actually take. What do you do? Like, what stance would you take? Like, because either stance, I mean, which one is more important to you? Keeping religion out of politics, or submitting to the will of the people?
Well, the thing. Okay, so the thing is, oh man, I don't want to go with the CCP model, because the CCP model is just a bunch of assholes in power, and they tell you what you're ready for, and it's like, because you just said you don't. If we were to respect the democratic process, you would have Islam in power, but you just said you don't want Islam in power. So it sounds like we need like a cadre of meritocratically appointed people who passes a battery of tests, who become competent civil servants to control a government.
So you just said secular dictatorship. That's what you voted for.
Well, it could be. I mean, it doesn't have to be a secular dictatorship. Like, I could just
if it's not the will of the people, it's dictator. If it's not chosen by the people.
Okay, is it dictatorship by one person, or like specifically one person, or
no? It could be dictatorship by a group of people, but it's still dictatorship.
Interesting. Maybe with like Islamic checks and balances, with like democratic referendums on certain issues.
Well, now you have both. Now now we have dictatorship and Islam. Why are you doing this to us?
I mean, okay, so because I'm thinking about it from like a Chinese model, and here's how the Chinese model works. The Communist Party by law has to make up 2/5 of the 2/3 of the Congress, right? And then ethnic minorities have to fill out the seats. But the thing with the ethnic minorities is that they have to, so all the Communist Party members, they have to be atheists. Like, that's rule number one. If you're part of any religion, you're not allowed to be part of the CCP. But if you're an ethnic minority, you have to be a Muslim in order to take the seat of the ethnic minority.
I don't like your Chinese model. Keep it to yourself. I don't like ethnicities to be involved in like picking how the government is picked. I think we have to do a liberal republic. Okay, so people, it's the will of the people. Okay, but there's a limitation to the will of the people. So you cannot have parties that are after religion. Okay, so I think there needs to be a constitution that says like no religion in politics, and let the people vote. So now you are abiding by secularism and democracy.
Well, I think the Tunisia model was like, because they had a version of the Muslim Brotherhood, and but they were very open to. I mean, they didn't really put anything regarding Islam within the constitution, to be honest. And if you look at
But
the
they were
mayor
still
of
branded
Tunis,
after Islam.
they were
party was
branded
still-
after Islam. No, but they were more like the. So in Germany, you have the Christian Democratic Party, which Angela Merkel is part of, which is branded under Christianity, but it's a secular liberal party. I mean, it's not a liberal party, the one in Tunisia, the Muslim Brotherhood there, but it's a conservative party, but it's not like a. I wouldn't call it a religious party. I mean, you can take a look at the mayor of Tunis. She was elected from that party, and she doesn't, she didn't really have
They're just
any religious
They're
principles.
symbolically
symbolic,
Muslim
yeah.
only.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
It's so weird that the most liberal, pro-democratic part of the country is the Islamic one. That shows you, yeah.
Do you
But-
know what it is, Armin? It's because,
What?
like us, like say secular, I mean, that's a secular party, but us liberals in the Middle East, we're so shit at organizing. We can't organize a piss up in a brewery, to be honest. I mean, we're just useless at organizing anything, and
Hey, that's
that's why.
racist.
That's why. That's why these guys take.
peasantry. Organize the peasantry. That's how you win revolutions.
Yeah. That's racist. You guys are being racist.
How
listen,
are we
Armin.
being racist?
Wait, are you
Listen.
not talking about British? Who are you talking about?
No, we're not being racist. What are you talking about?
Okay, who's bad at organizing things?
Liberals in the Middle East, they're terrible at organizing anything.
Oh, I thought you were talking about foreigners that they came to. Yeah, never mind. Okay, I misheard. But go on.
No, liberals like us, I mean, brown
Okay.
folk like us, we can't organize shit
Oh, okay.
in the Middle
Yeah,
East.
it's
It's always the religious people that tend to do the organizing, and we just sit by.
No,
and let
it's
them.
not that we're bad at. Okay, no. Okay, I get it. It's not that we're bad at organizing things. It's just that we don't have the tribal. Like, it's easy to be more organized when you have tribalist, when you are like leaning into tribalistic tendencies.
Well, listen, I've heard the liberals in Egypt up to the, coming up to the elections, prior to the current military dictatorship, the elections that the Muslim Brotherhood won. And to be honest, I would have voted for the Muslim Brotherhood because they're flipping useless. I mean, they're so uninspirational and boring and like cliched and old school, and like. Whereas the Muslim Brotherhood, they give you something, they inspire people to vote for them. Whereas these other parties, they're just, it's just boring crap, you know what I mean? It's just the old.
Okay, but Muslim Brotherhood, if they had come to power, they would have gone like fascistic on any.
They did come to power. They did come to power.
For just a year, for 1 year.
Yeah, for 1 year.
If they stayed in power, okay. I'm not
they got done over.
Sisi. Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, Sisi is horrible. Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, but let's not kid ourselves. The Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt would also, if they just stayed in power, that would also have been horrible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not a big fan of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. They're not the best party.
In fact, as liberals, what do we do? Because, us liberals, we like secularism and we like democracy, okay? So if you have a secular dictator on one side, okay, and you have Islamic democracy on the other hand, what do you do? Which one do you choose?
Islamic democracy every day of the week.
Why?
Because look at Turkey. We've got an Islamic democratic government, and he's going to lose the next election. And look at the people aged between 18 and 25 in Turkey. They're mostly atheists. The level of atheism in Turkey, I would say, is higher than anywhere else in the world.
Like you say, like we go through multiple decades of people suffering so that they learn their lesson.
Yeah, no, but at least at the end of the day, people realize that this is not the.
It's not the end of the day. It's the end of like 40 years or more. It's not just one day.
But in Turkey, it's been 20 years? It's been 20 years, yeah? Right. And people have realized that this guy, we don't want him in power anymore. The younger generation have rejected Islam, essentially.
So you're saying let people decide their own poison, and maybe after they suffer enough, they'll wisen up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
it works in Turkey.
So I would also say that the first past the post voting system is bad because it just allows a minority of assholes to stay in power. But that's a difference. I'm not sure what the voting system in Tunisia was. Is it like first past the post or proportional
No, I think it's proportional representation. Because
Really?
I think it is. I need to double check that. But I know the Muslim Brotherhood was in coalition with another party when they were in power.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would change my answer to Muslim democracy all the way. Like even if it was like a Muslim democracy, at least it's what the people chose. And at some point, like Armin talked about dictatorships and credit cards and whatnot, and I think people should learn hard way or easy way.
But I'll be honest with you, in Tunisia,
Yeah, actually, you're right.
the Muslim
Okay, so
party
here's the
wasn't
thing.
even that religious. It wasn't that
So-
religious to be honest.
I'm going to agree with you guys, okay? Because secular dictatorships, the part that we don't like is dictatorship, right? And democratic Islamic states, okay? The part that we don't like is Islamic, okay? But if one of them is truly secular and truly dictatorship, and the other one is truly Islamic, but also truly democratic, okay? At least one of them is able to fix itself. The other one, you have no way to fix. One of them has a way out.
Agreed.
One of them has a safe correcting mechanism.
I
So,
agree
yeah, I
with
will
you
go-
completely. I agree with you
Yes,
completely.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and yes, okay. I'm not
I
gonna
have one more
complain about
question. I've got one more question, Armin, quickly. So I'm a capitalist like you, yeah?
Yeah.
But do you not think that capitalism relies on exploitation of the weak?
Not necessarily. Actually, this is Idris is also asking the same question in the live chat. Idris is saying, Armin, I like capitalism, but I think you're not critical enough of it. You know the market isn't always right and at equilibrium. I actually admit this all the time. That's why I don't think like you should like capitalism just without any limitations or regulations, right? That's why I always say that. I don't know why people think I don't say that. So
Even with regulations, it's still so easy to exploit the weak in a capitalist society.
it's easier to take advantage of the weak in a non-capitalist society. Like as in the capitalist society, there's a way out for the weak.
But if the weak are ignorant, too ignorant to understand or to find a way out, it becomes very, very easy to exploit them. Capitalism. In fact, wait, one second. In fact, capitalism, it kind of encourages that exploitation of the weak because it's about maximizing your own profits, or etc.
So here's the thing. Okay, when you say why doesn't capitalism doesn't take care of the weak, it's kind of like asking, why does my toaster not vacuum my floor for me? Okay, because that is the job of a different entity. Okay, we have the government, we elect a government, and it's its role to lift up the weakest. Okay, I don't use capitalism for that. The different.
Can I give you an example? Can I give you an example of my personal life where this has happened? Yeah. Okay. So I have a tenant of a property that I own, right? And he's of Romani background, and he doesn't speak good English, and he's not well educated. Yeah. And when he moved into the property, I was charging him £550 per month. He has a wife and 5 kids. Yeah. And he lost his job during the time he was staying at the property, so he was struggling to pay the rent, etc. And so what I did was I had a spare car. I said, you can do Uber Eats. I'll hire you the car at £85 per week. Yeah. And you can do Uber Eats, etc. So he hired the car from me. So now he's paying almost £1,000 a month to me now. Okay. in rent and the car rental costs. And what he wants to do now is, so he's earning money from Uber Eats, and he wants to earn enough money so he can buy his own car, right? Do you know what I did? I put the rent up to 600 so that he wouldn't have enough surplus income to buy his own vehicle to free himself from renting from me, renting the car from me. So he would continuously, and what I continued to do was increase either the rent of the car or the rent of the property each month to ensure that he didn't have enough surplus income to save up so that he can eventually purchase his own vehicle. Do you not think that's inherently exploitative?
Wouldn't it be worse if he didn't have the option to work for you and make money?
To begin with, yes, but now he's in a position where he's tied to me now. He's got no way out.
But the alternative of not having a market would be that he would go hungry and die. Like, I don't like, so, okay. So within the capitalist model, right? If you factor out the third party externalities, which when we add that adds a role for the government to adjust the markets, right? But every trade, the two people come out of it better off than they were before. So no matter how you look at the trade and you're like, oh, this is not unfair to this person, to that person, as long as both sides are moving to this trade voluntarily, that means that they're better off within the trade than they are outside of it.
But Armin, if it was a non-capitalist system, he would have been provided with a job, and he would have been provided with a rent that was affordable to him.
No. Okay, so first, so in a capitalistic model, you could introduce social safety nets in a capitalist model.
Yeah, but the thing is, in this instance, he has come recently to the UK, so he has no access to these safety nets. You understand?
Well, I support safety nets for immigrants as well, right? So I support that, right? But what I also support is that what is missing also here, that you're saying he's becoming too dependent on me, right? If there was more alternative, there were more competitions, you wouldn't be able to do that because he would have easily been able to switch from you to another provider.
But if for example, his English language skills are not up to scratch and he's not able to source that alternative thingy,
in a capitalist model,
he's stuck with me.
In a capitalist model, you could still, a capitalist model does not negate introducing support for people who don't have the skills. So example, you're talking about where? UK, right? Like in Germany, right? For example, they have free English classes and classes that provides you with the scale for you to be competitive in the labor market.
Armin,
that is not a
Armin, I'm gonna have to just cut in here. You kind of assume that they have time for those classes if he could just raise the rent to the point where he has to work 24/7 and not have enough time.
Why would he? Yeah, but why would I keep working for him if the government is providing me with food, shelter, and
the government isn't. But no, I understand what you mean. Like
I know. I'm saying the government. I'm saying in a model where the government is doing that, and you still have a free market and free trade. Like you don't need to break the entire system to the point where the government is controlling the entire market. I could still have the capitalist model plus social safety net plus government support for new immigrants and who doesn't have the skills to be competitive in this market. And I can still have the best of both worlds. I could still have the capitalist model for deciding the prices of the demand and supply and the prices of things.
Yeah.
And enough government support for people who are the weakest are not left behind. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that the capitalist model is not supposed to take care of people who are left behind. That's the government's job.
Yeah, capitalism with socialist characteristics. Yes. So I'm guessing like a bigger criticism of capitalism would be investor capitalism and how it's kind of in the hands of a very few elites on Wall Street or London or Shanghai or Singapore, as opposed to say more community local based investment systems.
Okay, so if you think the businesses are controlled by a few elites, that is anti-capitalism.
Okay,
So
yeah,
people are like, oh,
yeah. So
capitalism means that you don't let the power of the market be centered around a few elites. That it needs to
yeah,
be decentralized. That's
yes,
capitalism.
yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
decentralized capitalism. Like I agree with that. But the thing
And
is,
what Ibn how do you say it again? Ibn what? I say Qiyam. Qayyim. Ibn Qayyim was saying, like, if the market was more decentralized, if there was more competition, it would be so hard for you to take advantage of your employees, because if they're not paid well, if they're not treated well, they could just as easily pick another employer if there's enough decentralization and competitors.
But the thing is, right, in the UK, currently in where I live, right, there are not enough housing to meet the demand of people living there.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. You guys are talking about two different things. Armin is talking about the platonic ideal of capitalism, and Qayyim is talking about the current on-the-ground situation in the UK, which are two very different things.
I am saying that if things are not working well, don't break everything because it's
I'm not saying break. I'm just saying we need more nuanced.
Oh, come on. You can still
criticism.
break everything and still become one of the most powerful countries in the world.
More nuanced criticism of the systems within which we live.
I am giving you nuanced criticism. I'm telling you that, like, it's not okay. So getting rid of saying capitalism is bad is the not nuanced discussion.
But, okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in the situation that I'm in, I am incentivized to exploit this individual as much as I can in order to maximize my earnings. Now,
because we don't have enough capitalism.
No, because there are people. No,
that's
the
not
thing
the
is, this guy doesn't have any skills, Armin. Listen, the only other option he has.
The problem here is not that we have too much capitalism. The problem with your situation is that we don't have enough capitalism. Do you see that?
The guy works at do you know when he's not doing the Uber Eats, he was working at a car wash, right? Where they pay him £45 a day in cash. £45 a day in cash.
Okay.
They exploit him, basically, yeah? Below minimum wage.
So
there's no there's government regulation in place that says you have to pay your employees minimum wage, etc. But it's not in like the enforcement isn't there. They don't have enough resources. Okay. There's not enough resources, Armin, to enforce many of the safety nets we have.
Do
you understand
what I'm saying? You're ignoring everything I'm saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm listening to you. That's a critique of the current situation in that environment. That's what you're saying is not a critique of capitalism. I'm not saying you're saying this is bad. This is bad. Do you think I'm saying it's good? I'm agreeing with you that's bad.
I'm not saying it's good.
No, I'm agreeing with you. No, hold on. You're not even understanding what I'm saying. I'm agreeing that the situation that you're explaining is bad. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that the solution to what you're saying is more capitalism.
Right. Okay. But the thing is, like, car washes all pay £40. It's like every car wash within.
Why do you continue to describe? Why do you keep going on of how bad the situation is? Okay, where it has nothing to do with how bad capitalism is. Like you're saying,
but I'm living in a capitalist society, yeah, and I'm discussing with you.
Apparently, not capitalist enough, based on what
it is a capitalist. No, because
I didn't say it's not. Oh
no, because do you know what they're doing, Armin? Each of these car wash places are charging the exact same amount they're paying the workers the exact same amount. It's like they've agreed and price fixed on how much they're going to pay.
Oh my God, that is anti-capital. That's price fixing. That is anti-capitalism. Yeah. That is big companies getting into cahoots with each other instead of competing with each other. So you are describing one of the most fundamentally anti-capitalist things that companies could do. You have removed competition. So that is anti-capitalism. So I'm right. Like the problem is the lack of capitalism, not capitalism.
Armin, I have a question. Can the state theoretically create, I guess, dead-end bureaucratic jobs that are in competition with, I guess,
you could make price fixing illegal. You could make lack of competition illegal. But do you?
How? How do you enforce it?
Well, for example, you could have private investigators, or anytime. Here's what you do, okay? Every time a company is proved, like you can't prove all of them, okay? But you increase the risk. Every time an investigator proves price fixing between different companies, you make the price, the penalty for that so high that the risk of getting caught not be worth it for companies to do such a thing.
Do you think the government can afford these private investigators?
Yeah, if you charge, by charging the companies, of course you can. By making sure you make more money off of the fees that you collect from companies who do such.
How much do you think these car washes make in a year? Do you think they're rich companies?
It's not just car washes. You could introduce it to everybody. You could be price fixing in general, make it illegal for all companies. For everybody.
The government can hire, I guess, poor immigrants and give them higher salaries to investigate these people, and then charge them and be like, "Hey, you're oppressing my communities." But I do understand. It's like it
can't be that hard to prove. If you have, if you have figured it out, okay, it can't be that hard to prove it, right? And people actually kind of do this for free. Like there are investigators who make these reports out there for free, and they just go and give it to the government. They're like, here's the report. Like we figured out that people are price fixing here, and the government, they just go onto the Congress and be like, hey, we have this big leak. You know what I mean? Like, hey, do you want to do something about this? The government could just take advantage of the free report that they just.
But Armin, these car washes cannot survive unless they charge £40.
They shouldn't exist.
Unless they pay their workers £40 a day.
Then they should go bankrupt.
If they go bankrupt, then you'll have another 90% of the Romani people in the UK would be out of jobs. They wouldn't have any of the jobs to go to.
Maybe the immigrants that can't have a job, maybe they could get together and maybe charge less because Anyways, I'm sure. Here's the thing: if there is a demand, okay, there will be supply. If the price is being fixed, then the supply exists on an unfair level relative to the demand. Okay, you know how the best way to figure this out, what the supply and demand should be, is to let the market figure it out.
So do you think we should get rid of minimum wage, Armin? Do you think we should get rid of minimum wage? If that's
the current wage society is built. You can get rid of minimum wage, but I would be more in favor of having very strong. So here's the thing: the reason why it would be better to now have very strong social safety nets provided by the government, and then remove the minimum wage. But given that we don't have those strong social safety nets, or maybe universal basic income, given that we don't have that, we require a minimum wage. Okay, but given the current situation, we need minimum wages.
But like I said, if these companies paid minimum wage to their employees, they would go out of business because they wouldn't be able to charge high enough price for the car washes in order to sustain the business. Do you understand? Because people wouldn't be willing to pay that much for a car wash.
They should go. I mean, if there's not enough demand for a service, then you should not exist.
Okay, then do you know what would happen? All Romanis, because none of them own their own property in the UK, they all live in rental housing. They wouldn't be able to afford the rent. They would be kicked out of their homes, and they would be homeless. That's how it would be.
Government just provide them with free housing
because there is not enough housing. They don't have enough money to build housing.
So you make a business that shouldn't exist. Okay. And it attracts a whole bunch of people as employees, and the business that shouldn't exist. Now, if it goes away, you're saying that people will suffer, and they're like, "Oh my God, what do we do now? These people will suffer." So you're making the problem is that the suffering from keeping businesses that shouldn't existing is more than the suffering from their lack of existence. Do you understand?
No, I disagree. I would say if they
you don't know that you cannot. This is a mathematical equation. You cannot just look at society and be like,
what would they do for a living then?
Okay, so when you remove fat, okay, excess fat from the market, okay, then the resources will eventually be allocated to businesses that will make more sense. I don't know what they be doing, but resources will get allocated to the development of more businesses and more jobs for more people if you let the market do its thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I don't.
Do you know what would happen? Do you know what would happen?
You don't understand what I'm saying. You don't understand what I'm saying. The answer is I don't know. The market has to decide. But when you remove the excess fat, more jobs will be created, not less jobs. But the problem is that people get emotional about this because when you remove the excess fat, the job loss is easy to point at, but the job creation from that is not easy to point to because it would be randomized across the market and it would not be in one industry. There would be more jobs created from removing this excess fat, but I can't point to it because it would be across the market. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Before you say respond to it, do you understand what I'm saying?
I roughly understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So I'm saying for every 10 jobs lost, there would be 11 jobs created. But the 10 jobs lost is easy to point at because, oh, look, people are losing their jobs in the car wash.
But those jobs created.
But the 11 jobs created are hard to point at because it would be wide across the market.
But those 11 jobs might not be non-skilled jobs. They might be skilled jobs, for example, right?
It would be non-skilled. It would be non-skilled jobs and skilled jobs. Okay, it will be non-skilled jobs because the resources that was allocated to a business that was not meant to be are now going to be allocated to businesses that are meant to be. And because they're meant to be, they will be more productive. And because they're more productive, they will create more jobs. Exactly for the jobs that were lost. So it will be for non-skilled work because the resources that was removed from this excess fat was resources specifically to a type of job that required non-skilled workers. So wherever it goes, it will be, again, the same resources will be to other businesses that require non-skilled workers. So it will be in the same type of business.
Right. I have to think about that. I'll get back to you. But I just want to say, like, I didn't actually do what I did, but I could have done. Do you know that exploitation, that situation? I didn't actually do it, right? But I could have done it, and he would have been put in a really, really tough position then, right? Where he would have had to work.
Why are you being so mean, though? By the way,
no. He said he didn't. He didn't.
I didn't do it.
He didn't do it.
I could have done it. Okay. But I took empathy and sympathy with him, and I decided not to. By the way, the Romani community in the UK are heavily exploited. I think that's something that is not picked up on by the media.
Do you not agree that what I'm saying is that needs to be stronger social safety nets instead of trying to tweak the market in the way that you think you understand better than the market itself? Just introduce what you should be pushing for is a government that has strong social safety nets, including for new immigrants.
No, I agree. I agree with you on that one. I don't disagree. Okay. So I agree. But the problem is, like, we in the UK, we're going through so many issues currently. Like the NHS, the National Health Service, is currently collapsing. It really is. Like, you can't get a doctor's appointment in the UK now. If you try and phone up, you won't get a doctor's appointment until a month in advance.
Because the government is trying to manage something that it's not designed to manage. Like, the government cannot manage education. The government cannot manage healthcare. Okay, that when the government comes to try to do something that the market does the best, when the government tries to takes that away from the market, it often fails.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the NHS is probably now. I think it needs to become privatized because the current situation is untenable. Like, if you want to see someone today, like, you need to see someone, you have to go to accident and emergency in a hospital, and then you'll have to wait like 6-7 hours, and then they'll see you. Like, I had an example of my grandmother the other week. She's 85 years old. She had chest pain. She was coughing, and for 3 weeks we tried to get a doctor's appointment for her, and it was impossible. So I just ended up telling them, and the doctor said, call 111, which is a non-emergency line. You try and phone that. They said, we're too busy. We can't take any calls today. Go to a walk-in center, arrange an appointment with a walk-in center. So you call the walk-in center and the line doesn't even ring. They're that busy. It doesn't even ring. Right.
So,
and And then the only option we had was to go to a hospital, the accident emergency section, and wait 6-7 hours to have a chest infection inspected, and then for her to be provided with antibiotics for a week. But yeah, that's basically
So
what we had to go through last
I
week.
think
Yeah.
the NHS is just
Same.
underfunded.
Well, it costs too much money. That's the problem.
Or
It's such a huge burden. It's such a huge burden on the country. The government cannot afford the
Okay,
NHS.
so I'm going to be honest with you. The American privatized healthcare is a fucking shit show. Like, no. The American privatized healthcare system is not the way to go. Like, it's just so bad. I mean, I do understand that Canada and Singapore have different healthcare models, and that's going to be a different conversation. But from a quick Google search, it looks like the NHS is just kind of underfunded.
What's wrong? Okay, I don't know much about this. I will submit to whatever the studies show. Okay, but what would be wrong with just having private healthcare and the government pays you money? No, hold on. The government, like this is not supposed. You want to. What I'm saying is something that is not happening in the U.S. So you can't tell me like, oh, look, the U.S.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Okay. So based on your income, okay, if you have low income, so everything is privatized, right? And also to avoid what's happening in the United States, insurance companies cannot collude with each other. They need to compete with each other. So all the laws that exist in the United States will make giant insurance companies like be able to price fix everything. You will get all of that would be illegal. So extreme competition between insurance companies will drive the prices of everything down, right? But also the government gives money to people, to poorer people, specifically for healthcare. Like they can spend it only on healthcare, right? This will, because instead of making it a healthcare government run, which reduces the competition, if you just put the money in the hand of the people that they're supposed to spend it on healthcare, this will drive up competition between healthcare providers because it's all privatized. It reduces the prices, but you're also not leaving poor people behind. The poorer you are, the higher your budget, your healthcare budget by the government is, and you don't even have to use that money to spend it on healthcare. You could use that money to buy insurance.
Okay.
I
Sure.
agree with that. I think that sounds like a good idea. I think also
What would you call this act?
Sorry.
I said, what would you call this act, Armin? Every congressional act needs a name.
The Armin Act. How about that? The Armin Healthcare Act. Okay.
Armin Care. Bobby Care.
Armin Care. That's good.
Armin Care.
What were you going to say?
Listen, what I'm going to say is we've got new proposed legislation in the UK, right? That, in order to buy cigarettes, each year, the statutory age by which you can buy cigarettes is going to go by 1 year. So at the moment, it's 18. So next year, the statutory age you can buy cigarettes is 19. Then it's going to keep going up to 20, 21, 22, 23. Like, this is a similar legislation as to what's in place in New Zealand. And then subsequently, people who are now below the age of 18 will never be able to purchase cigarettes, basically. Do you understand? So, and so much money is spent on cigarettes by poor people in the UK that this could end smoking completely in the country. Well, not completely, but to a large extent, especially, younger people getting involved in cigarettes, etc. And that would alleviate some of the burden on the National Health Service, which would lower some of the costs. So
and
I
leave
think
more
that's
money in the
really
hands
proposal.
of poor people. Leave more money in the hands of poor people.
Absolutely. And it's, I think it's a great idea.
I have a very Maoist take on this situation about money and land in the hands of poor people.
Okay, make it a point, and then we have to go.
Yeah. So Chairman Mao basically just said, okay, all landlords are now illegal, and then basically redistributed all the land, like just did a whole reset of who owns what. And China has to do that every now and then because China is so old. One family could mathematically speaking, one family could literally own all the land that is China. So periodically, leaders of China would just do a hard reset on who owns what, and Mao did that.
Not a good idea. Yeah, that's not. If Mao did it, it's probably not a good idea. But anyways,
I mean, just before I go, right? Just before I go, I need your do you know the camera and the microphone you use? What are which camera mic? Because I want to get the same thing set up as you.
Okay, my camera is a Logitech HD 1080p. Whatever high definition Logitech webcam you use is probably okay. Like these are cheap, very cheap and efficient. Okay,
yeah.
And my microphone is like it's just a Samsung one. I think Susie knows which Samsung. Susie uses the same microphone.
Is it separate from your headphones, your microphone?
Oh yeah. My headphones are the only expensive thing I use. My camera is cheap. My microphone is cheap. My headset is very expensive.
Why do you use headphones? What are they for? To just listen. Yeah.
To listen to you right now. Yeah.
Oh,
and
right.
Bluetooth, so I could just walk away and keep listening to you. But the audio quality is like amazing. This is Bose headphones.
Bose headphones. Okay. Yeah. I don't think I can. Yeah, cool. I'm going to get those. So Logitech HD 180p camera, yeah.
Any of the Logitech, even the cheap, just Logitech camera, it should be fine. But like, just look at the reviews. If it's too expensive, don't get it. The cheaper ones do exactly what they're supposed to do. Samsung microphone, like the cheapest ones, do exactly what you need to do. The reason why headset quality matters more than the camera is because like getting good audio, and so this is now noise canceling is like requires. It's hard to get. Yeah. It's like
Because I want to see everyone's. I want to make sure it's a HD camera because I want everyone to see my pretty face in high definition. You know what I mean?
By the way, people in the live chat are saying, love this argument. Good discussion, guys. Secular Rights saying, really great stream. Lots of interesting points brought up tonight. Oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah, I need to listen back to it to see how stupid I sound, but yeah.
No, you're good.
Okay, man. No, thank you very much for having me on, and hopefully next secular jihadist questionnaire thingy, I'll pop on and I'll destroy you. You know what I mean?
Okay, sounds good. Waiting to be destroyed. Okay, sounds good.
All right, man. All right, cool.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Safe.
All right, guys, make sure you like the stream. Make sure you share the video. Make sure you leave a comment after the stream is over. Do that. That's very important for us, okay? Thank you, guys. Bye.